The
この番
following
組は
program
週
contains
刊少
spoilers
年ジ
for
ャンプ
every
の
single series
各シリー
currently
ズの
running
ネ
in
タバ
Weekly
レが含ま
Shonen
れてい
Jump.
ます。ご
Listener
注意くだ
discretion is
さい。
advised.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
How are you today?
welcome back.
Another episode.
We're overlapping with everything we're saying.
Yeah, it happened.
So, this is 俺たちの漫言はこれからだ, shortened to OreKara, which is the podcast where we talk about the weekly Shonen Jump chapters that we've been reading this week. We're not reading everything. We're only reading the stuff we like and the stuff we started thinking it might turn out good, but then ended up hating. So we give our ratings every episode to every chapter, and this is supposed to end up being like ending up in our top 3. So we could technically fill out the popularity, what's it called, surveys.
Yeah, that's right, the surveys. We should do that.
The cards that. Yeah, we haven't been talking about that in a while.
Yeah.
And some Twitter.
I read it online only, so I don't actually have those.
Yeah, normal people wouldn't normally know what it looks like. So, like, some people don't even know that Jump looks like a telephone book.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know that all of these really good series are running in the or have been running in the
one
same
magazine. Yeah. That's the most incredible thing. There's all these,
isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny because I think last week after the podcast I was talking about how we ought to start we need to catch up with the ones that we like that are online only, because there's a bunch of series that are online only. Like, they don't run in the weekly magazine. They're not like on the same schedule, and some of those are really good, like Dan Da Dan and Spy Family, which now has a anime that's like gone super viral and popular.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should start covering. We should not just start covering. We should catch up with the ones of those that we like, and then start. One of those
is just stopped. It just finished. Yeah, a series that I've been really enjoying. It's called Don't Blush, Sekimi-san, which is a very cute, short romance comedy about a boy and a girl who like each other, and they're very shy about showing their affection. So at first it looks like the girl hates him because she's always ignoring him, but she has to consciously make the effort to not look at him, because otherwise she'd become like elusive samurai.
There's a chapter in this that kind of has features of that going on.
Yeah. So it just ended with them finally holding hands, and I thought it might go on a little longer because they recently like got to the point where they can talk normally with each other, and the boy accidentally befriended her father. Just when they were talking about like, maybe I should meet your father finally, and she breaking it to her dad that she now has a boyfriend, and the dad is going like, like they meet each other at the like the community college, where the dad is trying to learn a music instrument, and the boy is already playing drums, and the dad is trying to learn castanets.
What? That's something you have to study for?
Well, he says he has no rhythm feeling, so that's why he needs to practice with something easy. And that's how they meet each other and befriend each other, and like start practicing at the boy's house, which isn't weird at all, even though the dad is like, I don't know, 40.
An adult man.
And, yeah.
That's funny, because there's also a chapter in this where somebody specifically says, I'm not going to go with you to that. It would look weird to have an adult going with a student.
Yeah, but it's the other way around. And he complains about like, oh, my daughter has a boyfriend now, and I don't know what to do. I wish the boy was somebody like you, because I really like you. And he's like, oh, I really like you too. I hope that the dad is as nice as you are. And then they
so they don't realize it at all. That's pretty.
Yeah,
funny.
they don't. And eventually they have to meet, and the girlfriend is looking at them from afar, and she's like, oh, they already met, but they think that they are waiting for the other one, and are like, oh, you're here too, waiting for somebody. Then I'll give you company. And they wait, and eventually the girlfriend comes out and is like, oh, you've already met. And then they're
which
really
way
happy.
Which way would be more awkward? If you're like waiting with the dad, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna meet my girlfriend and her dad here, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna meet my daughter and her boyfriend here, and then it turns out that it's the person you've been waiting with. Is that more awkward? Or if you're waiting there and then like you have like 4 more people show up to join the party?
Probably the latter.
Yeah, I would say so too. The first one would be like just kind of funny, like, oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah,
the second one would be like, oh, now what do we do?
So the whole series is filled with these kind of wholesome moments where everybody is. Yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's so cute. It's it's very short. It's very cute. Yeah. It's extremely wholesome, and you need to pay attention to the side characters, because the friends of the boy eventually get fleshed out a little bit more, and they're basically just his groupies, because everybody loves this boy. And
oh, really?
One of them,
here?
Well,
Mary Sue is drumming?
No, he's just everybody loves him because he's very lovable. He's so cute. And they have another friend who just does really weird stuff, but it's treated so casually, so it never stands out. It's just when you notice that this guy gets mentioned by name a lot, then it's always some kind of side gag, like, oh, where's this guy? And everybody's like, oh, he just stayed at home because he wanted to do something ridiculous. And everybody's like, oh, okay.
That kind of joke is funny when there's like something bizarre, but everyone just sort of plays it off as normal. But yeah,
I really like it.
Yeah,
read it.
So we should, we'll definitely start covering more of the online only ones, and hopefully more of them will become good anime like Spy Family has.
I'm pretty sure that Kaiju number 8 is the next one to get an anime.
Cool.
Because it's extremely popular, and it's so popular that they release those the mangas as volumes in America, so you can't read it from start to finish anymore.
Oh, is that so? You have to buy
at least not for free, at least.
Oh, okay, that's too bad, because I started reading that a few weeks ago, but I haven't caught up, and I was like, oh, I should catch up, but maybe it'll be more difficult. I have to buy each volume individually. It always makes it harder.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah,
it's kind of a mix between Pacific Rim and One Punch Man.
Yes, well, I wouldn't say One Punch Man so much, really. The only I'm trying to think, what else is there that has people? Because the main gimmick in that is that the guy, the main character, gets superpowers that's based on the kaiju, and it's like a complete mystery of why he got them. And he's like trying to hide it from everyone else who's fighting the kaiju. So I wouldn't really say One Punch Man, other than the fact that he's fighting big monsters. Unless later on the nature of the powers comes out to be something similar. I don't know. I haven't read too far. Anyway,
maybe read more and then come back and say yes, it's One Punch Man.
All of those things that are currently running online only and not in the main magazine, I don't think we're up to date with. So let's just cover the ones that we have both read.
Yeah, like One Piece.
One Piece. They got a nice
starts off with a really good
color page. Yeah.
Yes, very good.
I'm always impressed when people paint characters under trees and do the proper tree shading.
It's so difficult.
I know, it's so hard to do.
It's impossible for a human to do that.
You need the special devil fruit to to paint like that. And they're having so much fun. And have we seen what's his name? Momonosuke?
Yeah, Momonosuke.
Have we seen his color before? Momonosuke?
Yeah. We have. We knew that he was pink.
Okay, I didn't remember that, and I was just like, oh, I guess he's a pink dragon. What color
Mainly,
is
I don't want to.
What color is have we seen?
I forgot. I think it was mostly green and blue.
Oh, okay, so he's like a Dragon Ball dragon.
Yeah.
I like, which we'll see again in another chapter in this issue.
I like to see Jinbei as one of the crew now, and him filling
he's right there.
Desperately needed spot of fat guy.
Yeah, every comedy needs one. Although this is
you think action. That previously maybe Frankie was supposed to be that guy, but
even in his newer form, he's not really fat enough.
Yeah.
And then we have Sanji with all the hot dogs, and I showed you the thing about how Sanji was based on Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
And now I can't unsee it whenever I see him. Like, yeah, there he is.
Same. Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, did you notice that Zoro is extremely small in this color spread?
Yeah, he's all the way in the back.
Everybody forget about him.
Yeah. I was going to say they position the characters based on that, except Robin's way in the front. We haven't really seen much from her lately either.
Yeah, but like everybody wants to see her.
That's true. So how did you like this chapter?
Moderately.
Yeah.
I liked it moderately well.
Yeah. It was one of those chapters that it was enjoyable, but I wasn't like blown away because there's no like big surprises or anything. It's just like, yeah, things are progressing.
Luffy is still fooling around with his powers and not getting a single hit in.
The final thing he does, it's like, okay, now this looks like it could,
if that's not the finishing move. Yeah. If that's not the finishing move, I don't know what else he could do.
Yeah. But first, we get a flashback to Momonosuke remembering his mother sending him and the others to the future.
I actually hated this.
Oh, really?
When the samurai are talking about like how cool it is to die,
and they're expressing the real samurai lifestyle.
Yeah, but also
that's what they were like.
The mother has one of the most powerful devil fruit powers in the entire series, and she could just go with them, right?
I know. I'm surprised she didn't, because she said that she was actually from an earlier era, but she time skipped to Odin's time.
And the only reason why she's like, I guess I'll just die now, is because shame.
Oh,
and
too old school.
Like everybody else could also be like, yes, we also feel the same shame. We have to die now.
They do say that, yeah.
But I know it's for the reason to not have the time travel power lying around all of the time. But like, if you already introduce the time travel powers, you can't just throw them away like that.
I guess, but I don't know. I'm thinking, because you say it's really overpowered, but since it's unidirectional, I'm not sure it's quite so overpowered, because it's like you can skip things that you don't like, but it means that you don't get to help out with anything in the intervening time.
Yeah, but like you can take as many people as you want to the future. That's really good.
Yeah, for those people. Not for everyone else who gets left behind.
Yeah, but that's the part of the power. You can decide who goes to the future and who doesn't.
I wonder
I say that's very
if it would have been
powerful.
possible to just like if she just went to Kaido and been like, I'm gonna send you 1,000 years to the future.
Yes.
What if she did that and then like tell her descendants like, okay, in 1,000 years this big dragon's gonna show up, so get like all the toughest guys around and like all the strongest weapons, and just as soon as he appears, just beat his ass. Imagine if they did that. And then like Kaido appears in the future and he's like, I'm a badass, and there's like 1,000,000 dudes waiting for him.
No, you just send him like 500 trillion years into the future when Earth has already exploded. Like, fuck you, you don't exist anymore. See how powerful that is, and that's why Oda needed to get rid of her in the most convenient way possible.
Yeah, it's a way to like erase. She could just erase someone if she wanted to. Yeah, but she chooses not to do that. She does it the other way around.
Even if the limitation was that she can only do it in like 10 or 20. No, she has to be able to do it in certain intervals. But let's assume she can only do it in 20-year intervals. That means she could go to Kaido, and if she's already going to die, like kill herself or just decide to die, she could go to Kaido and go with him in 20-year intervals until the end of time.
Yeah.
She could just do that.
Yeah, that would be the surest of sure kill moves. No way out of that, unless you find
that's the main reason why. Yeah, that's the main reason why this chapter doesn't get higher points for me.
Oh, really? See, but then the thing you're leaving out is, I thought I didn't focus so much on that aspect of here because I was just like, yeah, this is samurai being samurai, because we all know how suicidal they were. But I was gonna say like Momonosuke, when he's like, "Mother, I'm failing you." I'm like, oh, he's that kind of kid, this stereotypical Asian kid who's like, oh no, I'm gonna fail the test. Except the test in this case is lifting up a giant island that has hundreds of people on it.
Oh yeah, that's another point, another minus point. I don't like it when somebody is proven to have certain powers, like for instance Spider-Man, and they either lose their powers for some weird reason, like oh no, I can't walk up the walls anymore, I can't shoot web anymore.
His Peter Tingle isn't working anymore.
Yeah. Or when you know they have the power, but they don't know how to activate it. I don't like that.
Oh, that's also.
I never like it. It happens in Chojin X at the beginning, and it takes way too long for the main character to figure out how to use his powers.
Is that another online-only series?
Yes.
I also have not caught up with that. That's a weird one.
Go for it.
Yeah, someday. I'm still working my way through Black Clover. I'm far enough to have discovered that all the superpowers in the world that they live in are named after like suits from a deck of cards.
Oh,
so
that limits everything a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But some of the magic battles have been kind of cool. So it's one of those things, like, the more I read, I'm like, there's so much wrong with this series, but also I can understand why it's popular. There's like some stuff that's just, oh, that's cool. And then, you go on and like, but it's kind of dumb too.
I hate that it's probably better than a lot of the other series that we usually dunk on.
I know. It's so much better than things like Doron or PPPPP or what's it called, Earthchild. It's so much better than those. So it's like I can't trash it too much.
Not that difficult.
Anyway, going on with One Piece. Luffy now can throw lightning.
Yeah.
And Kaido even like
use
looks
everything.
at it and he's like, "Oh, you can do that now, huh?"
Wonder Woman would be proud of him.
Oh, she would, yeah. But Kaido's like getting tired of Luffy pulling out more and more different abilities.
He hates it.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you? It's like
of course.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you go into a boss fight and you're like, okay, I beat their second phase, and then it's like another health bar appears. And you're like, damn it. That's exactly what Kaido is experiencing now.
Yeah. Kaido
Luffy got a third health bar, and he has a whole different moveset now, and he has to learn it all.
And it's a cheat moveset.
Yeah.
Kaido built up, like, he got the perfect build.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He maxed out in all of the dragon incantations, and he leveled himself
so much
up
time grinding to get this high.
Yeah. He's the one who's leveling up like crazy, and Luffy this time is the bullshit boss.
Exactly. Yeah.
I fully understand Kaido now, and I really feel for him, especially because he's the one who always enjoys the fight.
Yeah, that's right. He really likes it. But I think he's getting tired of it now. It's like, this is too much.
I mean, I'm getting tired of it as well.
One more run, and I'm gonna go to bed.
And he casually reveals that Roger didn't even have any fruit powers. That's something. That's something
so
that people,
good with haki.
Yeah, people have been speculating about what Roger might have had. Like, what could be the ultimate?
I had always assumed that it was nothing. That it was just he was so good with haki and had such a good crew that no one could stop him.
Yeah, but back in the day when I was still reading the speculations.
What were the dumbest speculations that you remember?
The dumbest speculation is that, well, that might actually come true now that I think about it. The dumbest speculation is that Dragon has the wind fruit power, or whatever that entails. And back then, when Logia powers were like, you could really count on them being something in nature that you can turn into. But like turning into wind, that doesn't really make any sense, because wind is just a movement in the air. You'd have to turn into air itself, right?
Yeah.
But people were always like, yeah, but every time he shows up, there is a really strong gust, and that always saves Luffy. And I'm not buying it, like, still not, but the way how things have been going so far, maybe, I don't know. Who knows at this point?
But I mean, even if Dragon has some wind power, then that wouldn't necessarily mean that someone on his level, like Roger, had it, right? Come to think of it, we haven't seen anything about Dragon for a long time.
Yeah,
like a long time. Dragon. Yeah, but it's kind of strange now that he's supposed to be like one of the big players in the geopolitics of this world.
Robin got to hang out with him.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, don't you remember?
Was that like
Dragon and Sabo and during the time skip, when most of the stories of the other Straw Hat members were told in the chapter intro pages.
Yeah, the cover page stories.
Robin got for a short while captured by some world government officials who were building a giant bridge, and then she got freed by the revolutionaries, and then she hung out with them and learned a few new cool moves.
To be honest, I'm having trouble remembering what all everyone had. I remember Zoro got to hang out with Perona
and Mihawk.
And Mihawk on the island.
Baboon Island.
Was the time skip when Sanji was on the cross-dresser island?
Yes.
Okay. So he had like 3 years of that.
I think it was just 2.
Okay.
So or rather, I know it's just 2.
Okay, 2 years of that, and they had to attempt to go back to normal and pretend that nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Ugh.
We get
this short exchange where Luffy is grabbing Kaido by the chest.
Yes.
And Kaido is like, this is really
such
unusual
a weird way to grab him too. He doesn't have any chest hair, but he does have horns. It's like that would be easier place to grab, I'm sure.
It would work if he grabbed anywhere else, but since Luffy has these weird powers now, he can do that. But it's really weird that there's this back and forth. You usually don't see this minute detail in like looking at this, looking up, looking back down.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
figuring something out. Like usually you don't get that.
Yeah, there's a bewildering amount of noticing going on here.
Yeah. He hates it. Kaido hates it.
Yeah. He's tired of this. He's like, oh man, he can throw lightning, now he's got a command grab. What can this guy not do?
Meanwhile, all of the other characters are either finally catching up with the water appearing and the stage hazard disappearing, but then at the same time, oh, by the way, on this page, it was really interesting how how there is the juxtaposition between all of the samurai going, dying is awesome, and then Usopp is like, well, I will never die.
Yeah, exactly.
I refuse to die.
None of those samurai are Tokiyuki.
At the very least, it's depicted as kind of a bad decision to just accepting that you could die.
Yeah, other characters are like, no, don't do it.
But what's her name? Hiyori / Komurasaki.
Yes, she has to face Hydra version.
I was really hoping that Orochi was just getting his comeuppance this way, because now the whole I bested you thing
it was such a good moment the last time.
It kind of gets devalued now. And I expect that the next thing that's going to happen is either he's drowning in the water or he's getting punched through the island.
Yeah.
One of the two, and neither is the comeuppance that Hiyori
because it's what Hiyori had done before is now kind of undone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
At the very least, it looks really cool how he's now burning.
Flame Hydra, yeah.
I already said it. I like it when somebody's on the brink of death and already like disappearing from being so dead, and this is what's happening to Orochi right now.
Yeah, he's still trying.
It makes him look cool, but
even though he's such
I don't want him to be cool.
No, we don't need him to be cool.
Yeah, and then the final shot, a big fist from the sky.
Big fist.
It's even having lightning on it.
I know.
I don't know how that works because Luffy is rubber, and you don't just turn into. Wait, maybe are we supposed to assume that he grabbed
it all? I think he grabbed it all.
Like he has a handful
in the cloud.
So he has a handful of lightning now?
I guess so.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, he cartoonized the lightning when he reached through the cloud.
Yeah,
he's gonna hit Kaido with all of it. It makes no sense, but it's cartoon physics.
Go for it. Yeah. Do it. Finish him. This has to be the end, right? So if this fist isn't the finishing move, right?
It's got to be the finishing move. What else has he got after this?
I hope it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very disappointed if it's not. So,
what if he rubberizes the island so that he can paint a giant train tunnel on it and send the explosives on the skull thing through the, through the train
He
tunnel.
should just grab it with his one giant fist and place it on the floor.
Yeah, that would work. Just
At
gently
this
set it down.
at this point anything could happen.
That's the problem with things going too wacky. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I no longer have stakes for this because it could just be anything.
So I give this chapter a very cautious 74 points.
Okay, I said 7. I didn't even think about it until after you said the whole Komurasaki / Hiyori comeuppance being undone by Orochi being able to go Hydra mode for a final hurrah. I'm like, yeah,
See, that's why.
that's kind of too bad. Because it does make for the cool visual, but it's kind of undercutting the previous very cool ending to her side story. Anyway.
What's next? Let's see.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know who the bearded guy is. I just know that I dislike the manga guy.
Yeah, the manga guy is not very cool.
So does the bearded guy. The manga guy...
He's the hero now. The bearded guy is who we're rooting for. They're like, oh yeah, we both don't like this.
So it starts off with the mangaka dropping a quote from Katsura Hoshino, who's the author and artist for The Gray Man, which is a stellarly drawn series, but it really the story is very twisted and
it's convoluted,
weird.
But not in
it's
a
convoluted.
Good way.
Yeah,
I read a bunch of it. I'm not done with it. I don't even know if it's done or if it's one of those series that like pauses a lot.
They switched it to the monthly magazine that JoJolion has been running in.
Yeah,
and I think that's
also something I've like fallen off of. Haven't been.
Yeah, JoJolion is literally the worst JoJo part in existence. Like most people say they hate one or the other, but I can't imagine anybody going like, "Oh yeah, this is better than anything else."
JoJolion is the favorite one. It's not going to be anyone's favorite.
JoJolion is it takes too long to establish a villain. It switches the villains too much.
Yeah.
The art style has developed or devolved into same face syndrome to the point where one character's power is messing with everybody's perception that they
oh yeah, that was pretty funny actually.
Well, like, it was kind of funny, but I hate the character who does that.
Yeah.
Because that character started out as the scum child from Elusive Samurai, and then it kind of developed into a main character and will look better and better, even though it started off as like a diaper shitty baby.
Yeah, it's character evolution that happens in every JoJo part. Someone who looks really
stupid
drawn, but then as they get more important in the story, they get better and better drawn.
I kind of wish this character hadn't stayed around as a major character.
Yeah.
Anyway, either way, Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah. So
he's got this big pen thing.
Yeah.
And he calls it a war staff, and I'm like, you mean a spear?
Yes.
And I don't get that at all. Is that a pun in Japanese or?
No, I mean I get. I can't. I have no idea. I'm just. Okay. I feel better thinking about it as like G war staff. It might be a pun because G pens are a thing. You know.
Okay.
But the G pen that's on top.
It's just the war staff doesn't make sense still.
So his power gets revealed that. Oh, by the way, the panels you're on, where he says, "My reality has been taken over by Jujutsu. I've lost my motivation as a reader and as a creator."
I thought the same thing. I was like, yeah, if I were reading nothing but Jujutsu, I would also lose motivation as a reader because it's not going in a good direction.
it feels very on the nose as a reaction page to post.
Yeah.
So his power is that once he gets a hit with his war staff, a small panel. Yes, you can see your future, but only on your chest. So if you kind of like do something where he can't see your chest, he can't see the future.
It's such a bad power. He's like, you see the manga panel that's appeared on your chest? That shows me your future. And then the guy's like, well, I'll just attack from behind you so you can't see me.
Yeah, it's I'm like this manga guy should get beaten in the next chapter.
Yeah,
and
I hope he does. He's not that interesting.
I hope he does, but the way he's getting introduced and stuff, like there's probably something more lurking.
Makes you
like
feel
one
he's
more
gonna have
ace
to
up
fight
the sleeve.
one of the main characters next.
Yeah, but he must have one more ace up his sleeve. And
the other guy does his domain expansion at the end of this chapter, so maybe the manga guy has something like that too. So he's gonna bust out.
It's just weird how he gets built up with so much personality and background and anecdotes and stuff, and he's so weak.
Talk speed game doesn't show it with his skills.
Yeah.
And do you know what this other guy's ability is?
No, I've never. I don't. I thought he was the guy that they one of the senpais of the Jujutsu school who they dragged out of his illegal gambling parlor, but I think he's not.
Oh, okay.
Now that
at the end they're like, oh,
more.
his curse technique rules were revealed to Charles's brain. I'm like, yeah, but not my brain. I have no clue what's going on.
I don't know what to think about this whole thing.
How did you rate this one? I was like,
64 because they were still like doing hand-to-hand combat that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I said 6 out of 10 because this is one of those. I liked the this dude Hakari where he instantly is like, oh, I'll just attack from the blind spot. So I'm like, yeah, that's how you deal with that. I like that kind of back and forth, but the manga guy is just such an annoying character that I'm like, I don't even want to see him in the series, even though it's like, yeah, they're having a kind of interesting little fight, but I don't really care. So 6 out of 10. Going on.
Next up is Macadamia. I have very similar feelings about this.
The actual battle between the brothers is going
on. The main problem I have in this showdown is that we're lacking the information of how much degrees of heat both of them can withstand.
Yes,
because if you don't know,
thing is, we already know that Shoto can withstand way more heat than Dabi can.
Because he
Dabi
can cool
nearly
himself
killed
down.
himself with his own attack. While Shoto can cool himself down. So like so there's so many other people there because they're like, oh, Dabi's fire is so powerful. We gotta have so many people to fight him. I'm like, no, you should have just had Shoto and just 1v1 him because he should be able to take him, right? And do you remember? Because they make a sort of like time limit thing going on here, where they're like, oh, they're both going to build up their powers for a special attack, but Dabi can do it faster, so everyone else has to help defend Shoto until he can also use his special move. And I'm like, I have no memory of this being a thing before. Was that a thing before?
I don't think this was a thing before.
Okay.
At least not to my memory. And I've read all of Macadamia.
Same here.
Regretfully.
Yeah.
So that's why it feels really weird that they suddenly have to bring out these rules that both of them have to heat up before, and so that they can bring out the full potential of their flames in at the same time. And as I said, you don't know where the limit of both of them is. So
Yeah.
I mean, we do know they have limits because that's the whole thing about how Dabi is a failed creation.
Well, he has the
But
limit of not being able to survive his own heat.
yeah, so the solution should be very easy. Just wait until his time. Yeah, until his time runs out. Just
Exactly,
withstand.
yeah.
But they don't spell it out that way, and they don't. They turn it into a fist fight for some reason.
Which should just be throwing
doesn't.
fireballs at each other.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense when you can shoot fire. There's also the bit where he does this flame laser thing that it's basically it's kind of like a pressurized water cannon, except it's made of fire. And
where is that? This where he launches him with the fire?
It launches him. It slams him into a building. The building melts, and Shoto doesn't get melted.
He protected himself with the ice,
which is okay, but at the same time, I have to really criticize how this shot would have of him getting jetted away would have warranted a double page spread.
Yeah, it is a really big attack. It's one of those launcher attacks in Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Yeah,
you're flying off into the distance.
Still, I would have preferred if they had made it clear to the reader how the rules of this fight work, and instead it's basically right now it's just I'm angry. Oh yeah, you're angry. Thanks for being angry at me. I'm also prepared for your anger. It's just this emotional battle instead of giving us something for people who don't care about the family stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and also Shoto being like, "Oh, I'll take your anger." It's a bit silly because it's literally nothing is his fault.
Yeah.
Shoto did nothing wrong, so it should be he's accepting his dad's problems by being like, "Oh, you can aim your rage at all of us, but not the school, just the family."
So, and he does a finishing move at the end against Dabi, which he calls what's it? Flash Fist, Phosphor, and Phosphor is the stuff that's supposed to keep on burning, right?
Which is why I think they make fire bombs out of it in military use.
And if something on your body catches phosphor fire, it continues to burn. So it's kind of one of those things where you want to immediately cut your arm off if you in Jigokuraku.
I don't think it's quite that bad, but you get burned pretty bad because I think that
I thought it is because it's always said
they used to make grenades with it, I think.
Yeah.
But it got banned by the UN because it was that's one of the most horrible ways to kill someone. I mean, even though you think about it, getting exploded is a pretty horrible way to die anyway.
Yeah,
that was a step too far for the UN, so they banned it.
The thing that I'm wondering about in this thing is phosphor is a chemical.
Yes. So he's comparing his attack to this. So maybe some scientists could look up how hot does phosphor burn, and then you'll get your what do you call it? You're saying you wanted to have numbers on it to know.
No, I mean what I'm expecting is that if the popular understanding of white phosphor is that it continues burning, then this attack means he gives one more fire to Dabi and it continues burning, and that speeds up the process of Dabi burning himself, right?
Oh, could be, yeah.
That's what I'm assuming, but that goes a little bit against the established powers of Shoto, because how would he be able to create a fire that continues burning if his power is just
I think I don't think he's actually imitating the function of it. I think he's just taking the name of it because it sounds cool. That's my personal thought. He's like, I'll name my attack after this thing that burns really well, because I burn really well.
How is it then, like, how is it different from all of his other attacks? If it's just one more fire.
Yeah,
it's just fire. It's just fire.
Yeah.
It has to be a special fire. And then
it'll
he has
probably
to
be different
explain...
colored when I get the anime. But yeah, what I was gonna say is just like, for this whole fight, it's all he has to do is use ice to protect himself so he doesn't get killed, and then add more fire to Dabi so he ends up killing himself. And then you win.
It should be such an easy fight.
Yeah.
I'm missing that explanation.
And then yeah. Oh, and another thing I was gonna say, there's just a random thought I had about it, is that I thought for a moment, like, if his plan is just like add more fire to Dabi because Dabi can't regulate the temperature on himself as well, and he takes damage from fire, then instead of having all of like the other minor heroes, then this fight would be over in a second if it was Shoto and Endeavor together against Dabi, and they just both like just fire on him, and he just, he burns himself to a crisp the first time he tries to attack because he's already on fire. But they don't do that, and I was like, oh, but of course they have to have Endeavor helping Hawks fight All for One because he's the big bad, and made me think like it's a common criticism in a lot of stuff that has like kid superhero main characters. What are the adults doing when they're on their adventures? Like, people make fun of Harry Potter for like Dumbledore is always out of the castle when something like crazy goes down, because if he was there he could stop it in an instant. And then Harry and his friends wouldn't have to go on all these adventures.
We always have to assume that Dumbledore was handling something that was even crazier.
Yeah, it's just off screen. That's what the new stories should be about, instead of all the prequel stuff that people don't like. They should just made it like this is what Dumbledore and the other teachers were doing off screen while Harry and his friends were having little adventures. Make it much more serious. Yeah,
that would be so funny. Like them coming back at the end of the movie, and you get like the glimpse of Harry's adventure on the side. And
it turns out they were just like flying somewhere far away for like a really good pizza. They weren't doing anything important at all. And that series ends up being a slice of life of what teachers do to get out of working.
I bet that would be even better than whatever the Fantastic Beast series is. Yeah. So, anyways, Macadamia gets 60 points from me.
Yeah, I'd say exactly the same.
Like, the artwork is really, really good.
I really like the way it looks, but it's like you think of things. Well, I think like Jujutsu, I'm like, yeah, there's a cool fight going on, but then you're like, at least maybe I should have given this higher points than Jujutsu, because I'm like, at least I don't find either of these characters like actively annoying.
No, but like the banter between the manga guy and the bearded guy was a little bit funnier.
Well, you can't have funniness with this. It's a dramatic family drama thing. All right, moving on. We got Akane-banashi.
Yeah, Akane-banashi. We're going lower and lower with each series, but there are high points coming up, but not right now.
Yeah, there was one thing I kind of liked in this chapter.
Oh, really? Do tell.
Just the when the teacher and her childhood friend go together, I thought it was funny when he's like, the teacher's like, I'm not gonna go with you. Think of my reputation.
Yeah, that's but I think that's an anti Maxi, because I would have wanted the opposite.
Well, you can write that in your fan fictions.
Not with this guy.
At least
he used to be fat and ugly.
At least he lost weight. Oh, would you like it more if he had kept that that style?
No,
If you were more of
not
that
that.
guy, aren't you a
No.
fan? Are you a fan, a connoisseur of that kind of guy?
Well, technically I am, but not in this context. I don't
Yeah,
want the fat ugly bastard needs to be at least 40 plus, and this dude
uh,
being like a fat little shit, like a Cartman, and
mhm,
then becoming hot over summer. That
mhm.
I like. That doesn't fly. I want either either have to be perfect from 0 to teenager, or you get to be a fat ugly bastard when you're 45.
Oh, I disagree. Don't you remember Henry Cavill's origin story?
No, I don't.
Okay, so
Did he used to be fat?
yeah, when he was a kid, he was a little fatty, and he said that people made fun of him for how fat he was because he was like this little fat nerd. So then in high school, he's like, "I'm gonna change this, and I'm going to work hard to look different." So he got into weightlifting, and
Uh-huh.
also just thanks to puberty hitting him, he got a lot taller.
Wow.
And then he, got more muscular and ended up being like, Superman. And people were really impressed with how he looks, but inside he's still a
A
fat
fat
nerdy
little
kid.
nerdy
Yeah,
dude.
and
Well, the
that's like
Henry
the
Cavill got
ideal
the
because he's got all the skills of a fat nerdy kid, but all the looks of someone who works out a lot.
fine. Okay, let me rephrase. You can't go from Cartman to
To
Henry
this.
Cavill, because if Henry Cavill, I mean, he's like the nicest guy
Yeah,
possible.
yeah, yeah. So he wasn't a jerk as a kid.
Yeah, you don't
He's
get
just
to
fat and
be
unpopular.
a spoiled little fat
Hmm.
rich
Yeah, this kid
asshole.
was too much of an asshole to Akane when they were little. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's also not uncommon for people to be like, to as they get older, they get nicer sometimes.
I not in my experience, and
Well,
I'm
for some
3,000
people, because
years old.
for sure, I know of just in personal experience, some people who are like kind of mean little kids, but then when they grew up and had a wider range of interactions with people, then they're like, oh, I can't be like that, and they regret their childhood demeanor of being little shits and become
Mm,
nice grown-ups. And then you get people
hmm.
who are like problem children, and then they grow up to be criminals. That happens too. But
Yeah,
I
that.
believe people can change for the better, and I'm glad this guy changed for the better, even if he
Mm,
didn't get to go on a date with his teacher.
fine.
um,
I like that the teacher is pointing out that Akane here in this one
yes,
where I underscored it in red,
yeah,
where she's like, "Oh, in this day and age, if you can't do magic, uh,
hmm,
then you better not become Asta." And
yeah,
um, no, if you don't go to college in this day and age, really should have a
a
backup
job, yeah,
plan,
plan,
especially when when you try to do something as obscure as Rakugo.
right.
And I
It's
just
funny because
thought,
I think often I compare this series to Shoha Shoten, and again, this was making me think of it because in that
indeed,
there's the whole arc of the glasses guy's family being
being
like,
so against
no,
it
you
because
can't
they
become a
think,
professional comedian because it's so rare for those people to actually become like successful and comfortable. So you
yeah.
have to pick some different job. And
In
he's like,
this
no, I want
case,
to do it.
I think the teacher should have some more. I don't want to say genre savviness, because even in real life, if somebody says, "I want to be a rakugoka," then and if you know a little bit about the student,
Mm,
then you should already know that she's being trained and that she's
mm.
already performed. But apparently, this is all
Yeah,
news
it
to
is
her,
kind of weird that the
which is kind of
teacher
weird. So
doesn't
if
know any of that, and Akane
it's
doesn't
like
tell her that.
if
She's
a
just like, "Come see my next performance." She's not
yeah,
like,
so
"I've been doing this for years."
if a student was like, I want to become a traditional I don't know, ikebana or anything that's really traditional and highly regarded, right?
Right.
Then the teacher should normally say, "Oh, you want to go the traditional route, and there's probably a teacher already waiting for you, and there's a whole path ahead of any
and they kind of show that
genius.
in this as well, because she's already become part of that school that her dad
and
had been in.
This teacher is reacting to her as if she said, "I want to become a YouTuber."
Yeah,
which would be much more realistic for her to say, but the teacher being so against it
that actually probably would have been a good direction for the story if Akane was like, well, as a young person, I'm gonna take it to the masses and do YouTube Rakugo.
Yeah, but the series isn't as cleverly written as we'd want it to be. And they refuse to hire us as editors.
Someday. Keep talking about it. And someday
put us in charge of everything.
It's like how, well, that's one of those things. I wonder how those people who get like the War Master jobs, how they get into that.
What do you mean, Lore Master?
Lore Master. Because a lot of shows that are like adaptations of things, or like sequels or prequels, because you know everything these days is like an adaptation, sequel, or prequel. So every single one of them, they'll get people who know a lot about it to not be like an actual writer, but to
somebody who kind of be an editor and
oversee things. And because I think most famously, like probably everyone who listens to this will have known about the controversies over the photos of the Lord of the Rings TV series. One thing in the backstory of that show was that originally they had a lore guy who like literally written books, like entire books about Tolkien and Middle Earth lore.
And then they fired the guy.
Yeah, they lost him because he broke NDA on like Reddit or something.
Oh no!
Like, it's such a lame way to like lose your job. Someone like asks you a question on Reddit and you're too honest, and the company's like, we can't have you here anymore. But yeah, so they lost that guy who would have been like perfect, and then they replaced him with somebody who had written like someone much younger who had done like she had written a college dissertation about Gollum, I think. But it was one of those like kind of weird things where it was more of like taking how can I apply modern political ideas to this old story rather than like I'm going to study everything possible about this old story. So it's like obviously she doesn't know as much about it as the previous guy, and so a lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is why the show looks so bad. It's because the writers didn't know enough, and then they hired they lost their original lore master and hired someone who wasn't good enough. If you know, some things, I guess you wouldn't be a lore master if it's an original thing, but just you know, an outside editor. You don't have to be like there all the time like a normal editor, but it'd be great to just be like someone who could step in and be like, this is dumb, or do it differently.
I mean, incidentally, I'm going to make a proper video about it, but just yesterday, 2 days ago, we were looking at somebody saying, oh, Earthchild is so exciting. I said, no, it's trash. It's going to get canceled. And this guy brought up that it's doing well on the table of contents, which then resulted in us looking up what other people have already written about the table of content ranking, and if it actually is a ranking. And I think a lot of people mistake it as a ranking because they watched the video by Super Eye Patch Wolf about the fall of Bleach, where he indeed focuses on Bleach going lower and lower and lower on the table of contents. but that's not exactly the perfect representation of the survey results. But he presented it that way, and that's why so many people just take that as gospel.
Are you gonna refute that?
The thing is, what this person on Reddit wrote was that people have noticed that it takes about 8 weeks until something gets significantly demoted on the table of contents, when it was previously pushed a little bit harder, which led people to believe that it actually takes 8 weeks for the surveys to get analyzed.
Oh, really?
So
that's interesting. But
which is interesting and also
facts?
goes no, but it goes against what we know from Bakuman, where it never really took that long for the surveys to come in, at least in the plot. And I don't expect the plot making that up, like the authors making that up just to make it more exciting, because everything else seems really plausible, what they've been establishing about the inner workings of Shonen Jump.
Yeah, they didn't give out all the secrets.
It kind of makes sense for something to drop in after 8 weeks. Wait, why was I going to? I'm on. Oh yeah. Wait. No, this connects to editors, because apparently, if it takes 8 weeks to analyze all of these survey submissions, that means if within the first 8 weeks the author has full control over his series, but if it then comes out that everybody hates it, then the editor takes
where things change.
Yes, the editor takes over. Apparently, that at least that's what people are rumoring. The editor takes over, and then the series takes a whole different direction. And guess what happened in Dororon?
Chapter 9. Things changed.
Things changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
when was it in Shugomaru that things changed? Because you said that you said that was because they finished up their big plot.
I think that was because the author probably got a warning and then just started doing extremely let's say risky things.
He went feral.
Yeah, he went feral. That was probably so popular that they gave him another chance, because otherwise I think there was a good moment for the series to stop, and the fact that it's going on right now.
That is one thing that I think is kind of ironic, is I don't know of any examples, but I have this vague feeling that it would happen to TV shows for something to be kind of declining, and then they're like, oh, well, we're going to do a last hurrah. But then the last hurrah makes it so much better that they get signed on to do more seasons of it, and then they end up with a slow decline anyway, when they should have just ended it there. I can't think of
I know one.
What could have... yeah.
Korra
did that, okay.
Yeah. Korra did that.
It's going to get canceled?
But they were fully prepared to get canceled, because apparently the ratings were mediocre in the beginning, but then they got surprisingly renewed, and then they suddenly had to make new seasons, and that's why it fell so hard apart, because they weren't prepared for it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think which one was it where she goes into the world of the avatars or whatever, the spirit world. The third season.
I don't know. I stopped watching.
I was just gonna say, Korra. Sorry to have such a long tangent, but I was just thinking about how Korra, kind of like in Game of Thrones, it's weird how there's this climactic battle with the most epic magic forces of the world, and then that ends, and then they're like, oh, we're just gonna fight this lady who has political differences with us. And then that ends
gigantic epic battle ending on a knife trick.
No, I don't think Korra does that. It's just the switch from oh, here's the magic stuff that's in this series, and we're gonna talk about it all the time. And then here's like a huge event that's like world shaking and about the specific magic stuff. And then after that, you have another arc that's the actual final arc. That's just this
way less
lady.
exciting.
Yeah, this lady has different political ambitions than we do, so we're gonna go fight her. And it's like both of those. It's like sort of a weird step down, and it doesn't.
But she belongs in a film class book.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if there's any shots from the final season of Korra that belong in film study. There's some pretty cool fights in the final season, but either way, it just felt like a weird anticlimax.
Yeah, anyway, they did it bad.
Akane-banashi.
Akane-banashi gets 50 points from me, by the way. Yeah.
How many?
50.
50. Oh, I said, what did I say? Exactly the same. Yeah, because it's one of those chapters where it's like stuff is introduced, but I can't really say that anything happened.
The final panel where she's going on stage and it's like, I hope you'll sit back and indulge me in a little tale. I think that's another one of those panels where I think, the series could end right now. It's
yeah,
showing her being
is only just beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Don't you think so?
Yeah. That's could be. I do think it's gonna be interesting next chapter to see if there's any like cutaways to her thoughts about how she's trying to tailor her performance to her teacher now, because it's one of those things possible. Where I was gonna reference Shoha Shoten again. The time
Do
where
it.
Okay,
such a good series.
In their first competition, they talk about how they have to tailor the performances, right? Because some people they see are just performing to their friends. They're like, okay, right. So what do you have to do to be funny outside of that group? And then after that, they have to use that knowledge when they're trying to craft a performance to get the Glasses Guy's family on board with them. And instead of doing the stuff they normally do, they're like trying to think hard about what they know for each of those individuals. So I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some thought bubbles from Akane about that. Like, how is she going to be tailoring her performance to the teacher so that she likes it, but then also have to keep in mind the rest of the crowd, because if the teacher likes it, but then she looks around and no one else is laughing, she's still going to be like, no, write something else for your career.
I think she's going to pull out, like, first of all, I think they're going to completely ignore that she has to tailor the experience to the whole crowd. They're just going to depict it as if her regular stuff. No, they're going to depict it as if her one performance right now is so good that everybody will love it. But they will also pick one of those old stories that is specifically about a teacher and his apprentice or something. And it will kind of mirror how the teacher can be wrong at times. And the teacher in this case will be like, oh, it's almost like what I did to her and I underestimated her. And then she looks at her and she's like, oh, and now she's looking like a completely different person. She really got the stuff to be a rakugoka.
I think you're completely correct, because one thing that we've noticed on previous chapters is whenever there's a performance, there's like this massive overlay of like everything is a metaphor. So that you're definitely right on that's going to happen.
It's kind of in a way like PPPPPP, where the performance that Lucky always has to do, he always has to tailor it to win one person over, and that person is kind of like the mid-boss, the monster of the week that he has to beat. And the rest of the audience doesn't really matter as long as he can wow this one person.
I think funny in Shonen Jump, then stories that are about performers they're also battle manga.
I think that might be something that the editors tell them instead of going like, "Oh, you have to," because that's an easy way to circumvent that you have to talk a lot about the actual craft. Like, for instance, going into minute detail on how to move your facial muscles and how to do this one turn on the stage and how to do a special move, like without having to go in these minute details that you have to be a complete master of the craft yourself. And obviously the mangaka won't be that much of a master unless he comes from that specific field and then goes into manga, which we know these guys aren't doing. They have a consultant for Rakugo. So, and they didn't care about Rakugo before they somehow got the idea to make a series about Rakugo, which is extremely lame. But like, if we disregard all of that, we know that they're not that deep into it that they could just shake it out of their sleeve. You know, like I wouldn't be able to make a story about snipers because I don't know anything about guns. I think guns are cool, especially sniper stuff. And I love it when the gun is really long and somebody has to do like the damn it, I can't do that. I can't even get. Yeah, anyway, so I wouldn't be able to explain it like right off the bat. I would have to read so much about it. I have to consult with people. And I'd have to shoot the gun myself, and even then, I would only get like a fraction of what good sniping is, right? And
I think it's not. I mean, it's just how much research you do. I don't think you have to be like super deep into the thing before you get in, as long as you do your research.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that it's not always necessary to be like go super deep into all the details of something, just if you're making a story that's supposed to be entertaining by itself. So. But
I guess I just have different standards.
It's just that this story, Akane-banashi, it continues to be well drawn, but like kind of mid in terms of plot interest factor. Yeah. Hopefully it'll get better.
I have my doubts.
The problem is that now that we've seen the past 2 chapters had longer performances that we'd been asking for, and then it still wasn't like super funny, and then also the plot still isn't like super dramatic. Then I'm just like, there's not that much that really grabs my attention from this series. Not like other things where I might be interested either in, oh, what's going to make me laugh this week, or like, oh, what's going to happen to this character? What kind of dramatic twists are going to occur? In this, I'm like, yeah, they're just doing the thing. And I know that it's a comedic art form, but I'm usually not really laughing too much. So it's just, it's like if you compare manga to food, then Akane-banashi is like a piece of bread that has not been buttered yet. There's just not enough there. I'm like looking at it. I'm like,
and it has a very exotic
piece of bread, and you're like, oh, I like the look of that. It looks nice, but I could probably use it for something. I just don't want it to be plain.
Put some jam not or buttered. Butter on it. It's not buttered, and it has a very exotic lunch meat on it. And you're like, well, I've always wondered how this tastes, and then you bite into it and you notice that it's not properly like buttered and prepared. I'm like, I always thought this would be better.
Yeah,
like this might for anybody who's really into
as a complete tangent. Were you ever a fan of Garfield? Because one thing in Garfield is that they make the steaks look so delicious and like so tender when Garfield eats a steak. Maybe it was just when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I was like, he steals steaks from John, and he also likes lasagna.
Only eating lasagna.
No, he eats lots of things. He's a very hungry little animal. But every time there was a steak, I was like, oh, that looks so good. And then, like, of course, the first time I ended up getting to try steak, myself, I was like, this is not as good. I was disappointed.
Yeah,
because it wasn't as good
Garfield.
as I imagined from Garfield.
That reminds me, there's a cartoon for children which does live action educational stuff called Die Sendung mit der Maus, the TV show with the mouse. You might have seen it. It's a staple in German television. It looks really.
That's not the Egyptian one.
No. And
they kill the main character off screen.
No. And it does look kind of crappy because obviously they didn't have a huge budget back in the day, but it kept the same look just for tradition's sake.
Yeah.
And in that show, the cartoon food looks so good, especially when the mouse eats sausages. That's so delicious.
Were you disappointed with real life sausages?
There's definitely a correlation between seeing food as a child in a cartoon and wanting to eat it just because it looks so delicious when the cartoon animal bites into it.
All right, everyone listening, please leave a comment about what food did you see in a cartoon and then were disappointed when you had it in real life because it wasn't as good as you imagined.
A lot of people would probably mention Ghibli food because that always looks so delicious.
I'm trying to think, like, they have such a variety, though, in Ghibli. It's like everything. I don't know if you can...
everything. Yeah. They even have very delicious bread with butter and stuff.
Oh, imagine if the first time you saw bread was in Yakuza Like a Dragon. You're like, oh my god, I want to eat that.
So the trick is if I make babi, I have to withhold bread from it until I show babi the Yakuza bread.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan. Before you start going on the tangent about food, I want to say something that's probably very disrespectful and ignorant towards Rakugo, but
say it.
I
don't know anything about Rakugo either, so say it.
My first touch with Rakugo was in Joshiraku, where it's one of those series about girls doing cute girls doing cute things, and all of the girls are color coordinated, and the whole plot is just them backstage doing stuff and getting annoyed at each other. And it's really funny. I think it's excellent to study and train your Japanese hearing ability. But the main thing is that you never see a Rakugo stage performance. It only ever really, like, you see them when
it's
they
all behind the scenes.
You might see like the final glimpse of one bit, and from that I thought maybe Rakugo, because I knew it was old-timey, but I thought that they were still coming up with new stories. But apparently from Akane-banashi, they just keep retelling the old stories over and over and over again. And
which sounds kind of boring for a art form, even if it's like traditional.
Yeah, but like eventually you'll run out of those old stories, and it's kind of like in PPPPPP, where they can only play classical Beethoven and Mozart and stuff that's 300 years old.
The thing is, like, even with that, I've heard so many people doing like remixes of old songs or like trying them on different instruments, and then that gets them to sound really different. I'm trying to think of the title of the song. It's Mars, the song. I forget who the composer was, but it was from The Planets. Yeah, I think so. And there's a cover of The Planets, but with, like, rock and roll instruments. It sounded really different, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And the Mars one sounded much cooler. Yeah,
I was just hoping that
on a lot of those sort of traditional performances, then there are ways that people can like remix them to be interesting. But if you make something about it that's just doing the very traditional, the same thing, then you got to have more than just the performance thing to keep it interesting. And Akane-banashi has the dad drama, but they kind of forget that a lot of times. So it's it's losing its grip on the things that the aspects of it that created drama in the story.
Yeah, that's true. We still need to find out why the dad got fired.
Yeah. You mean why he died? Because I keep thinking that he's dead, even though they've explicitly said no, he's not dead. He's a salesman
he's
now.
Crestfallen.
He's more successful than before. Yeah, he's the
crestfallen
Rakugoka.
The summary is just that I thought they might do more modern stand-up, and that's not happening. And I'm mainly disappointed by that, and I probably shouldn't be, but like...
It's what we should have known.
Yeah.
Anyway, next is Sakamoto Days. Do you like this chapter?
Hold on. Let me check my it was fine. It was fine. It was action packed. It had a moment that really made me wonder what's going on.
Oh yeah?
I don't...
Yeah, which part did you not understand?
I liked the part where the hat guy was like everything that the hat guy was doing was...
I forget his name. I'm like, he seems like an interesting addition to the crew, like, because he actually has a lot of thinking and
well, he has a very distinct personality type, and he seems to he also seems to have one special ability, which I'm going to assume is that he can hear really, really well, which is why he keeps his ears covered for most of the time.
The ending of this chapter has like the classic girl with long hair cutting off her long hair trope, except that it's with the ear flaps. He just pins them up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was the classic dropping your wristbands and they weigh 10 kilograms.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more of head accoutrements than...
Either way, I like
either way, he's
his interactions. Serious. Yeah, he's getting serious because now he's like, oh, I guess doesn't really matter if it's awkward or not if I'm dead, so like might as well. I also like that what's his name? Gaku? That he ran into more realistic limitations of his stupid VR gimmick.
Yes.
Like that he's inside a building and that's why he can't move as much as he normally would.
He needs also to have like you've never used Steam VR, have you? I don't know if other VR systems do it, but on Steam VR, then before you start, you have to do room setup. So you have to walk around your room and kind of trace out an area with the controller. Then in game, if you get too close to your walls, then it'll show like a virtual wall, so you don't do like him and run into walls.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, so
I didn't know it worked that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there's like an experimental thing in Steam VR because it's one of the headsets that actually has a camera on the outside. I want to say the HTC one does as well. Most of them don't, but it has a camera on the outside. And I think there's an experimental thing where you can turn it into AR. And you can either have a overlay of the real world, or you can... I saw one thing where someone was doing something where like it kind of it creates like in-game objects that are based on stuff around you. So you can like pick up like a ghostly polygonal form of something sitting on your desk. And it's one of those like weird little apps that people create, but I think that that's going somewhere with that tech of having a camera on there. And I was thinking like that will prevent not only running into walls, but stuff like have you seen that video clip of somebody playing a VR game and their kid walks into the game area and she just clocks them? Okay. It's probably it's exactly funny as described. It's a little bit funny unless you're that kid.
I was just thinking, like, the possibilities of like when two people have the VR on, and the game displays them as different characters to each other.
Yeah.
There's possibilities that I'm not going to elaborate on.
Expound on that. We'll just consider it as is. But yeah, this guy, he's running into walls because
it doesn't. I mean,
area.
I didn't know this technology exists where you can limit your space inside the VR environment, but because I was thinking that since he's been moving around on the island so far.
Oh yeah,
why hasn't he run into the problem already?
He was doing the auto run thing. In a lot of VR games, they'll have like instead of walking normally, then you can either control your character with a thumbstick to run around, and it'll just kind of like auto run without actually following your body movements, or you can have the little beam that teleports you to different places. Which
I don't like that one.
Well, it's funny because that version, it looks the clunkiest when you're watching.
Yeah.
But it's probably the smoothest feeling. If you're like at home anyway, like probably the smoothest would be. I've seen some arcades will have VR setups where they have omnidirectional treadmills. And that looks like the smoothest because then you just walk anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you're like at home, you'll have to keep resetting yourself. So because you can't just keep walking around, you'd be like this guy walking into stuff. So, but that's a good question. So does he have like the little? I don't see it. I don't see a little thumbstick for him to be like, okay, let's have this guy walk without me running into walls, or else because otherwise he'd have to like walk the entirety of the island to get around.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's obviously not. They should have shown a little treadmill in the room.
That would be funny, but then he probably wouldn't be able to do all of his moves.
Yeah,
I bet. Well, either way, we can probably just.
Then it would be like the main characters are running away, and they're like, "It's strange. Whenever we run away from him, he takes a few steps to the right and looks like he's getting onto something before he starts chasing us."
Either way, I guess we can just ignore that
the
these limitations.
Yeah. It doesn't.
So this is the page where that made me think like, what's going on? Because look, first, what's his name? The mask kid is.
Oh yeah, the shoe knife
dodging backwards. Then he's getting stomped on his back. Then he's lying on the floor, and the guy is doing another kick. He's kicking him into the wall, right? And then on the next page, he's lying somewhere. I don't know where. Right?
Yeah, where is he? He's like in the middle of the beach now. Instead of
actually, I would say this is a riverbed, but
yeah, riverbed. That's the word I was looking for.
And then on the next page, he already got up, so that the head guy is able to tap him on the shoulder.
Yeah, and he's nowhere near.
And look how far he's already walked. Yeah. It's that really confused me.
You get fast if you wear blades on your shoes every day. It's like
these are rollerblades,
leg weights.
Either way, this kind of confused me, but like I can when you read it 2 times over again, you can
that's what they
overlook it and ignore it.
Blocking is, or maybe that's a film term. But I know there's a term blocking that film critics talk about, and it's where you place your characters in frame to help the audience know where they are in the scene.
Yes. Well, I suppose in anime format, this would make more sense, because then you would be able to see in the top left panel that he's already moving upwards.
Yeah, they'll have a quick cut to him walking really fast away from the wall, back to the middle of the wall.
We get some progress that they probably now see that they will realize what's going on now that they have given Gaku some damage, even though that's even more bullshit than anything else that's happened with the VR. Like, why would it?
If
why would
you die in the game, your controller gets
yeah,
damaged
why?
in real life.
This is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the final page was basically the reveal of why the title was misspelled, because the guy is still awkward and he's fumbling his speech, and that was kind of funny. I think the translators could have picked a different line, but
how would you have done it?
Anyways, I don't know. I forgot what the Japanese was.
Yeah. So how did you rate it?
65.
Yeah, I'd say about the same. I said 6 out of 10. That I'm overall meh about the VR gimmick. I don't know. It's just.
It's certainly more interesting,
even in a world of like shoeboids and stuff like that, and psychics.
It's still more interesting and more entertaining than let's say Jujutsu Kaisen right now. Jujutsu Kaisen right now is also doing action stuff, and but it's just slightly behind Sakamoto right now.
But the thing is that both of them currently is characters fighting against a gimmick that's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel, the enemy's gimmick in both of those doesn't feel completely thought through to me.
Yes.
But anyhow.
Yeah, let's move on to Roboco. That one was slightly better than this one.
I'd say slightly better. It's another one where Roboco is trying out to be a manga artist. Let's see if she's any better than the war staff guy.
I'm mildly annoyed by this gimmick already. Like, I think you can by now write out what kind of chapters Roboco could have.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's reusing different story types. Like there's depending on which character is the main character in this chapter. And this one is a Roboco as a mangaka artist chapter once more. And we know her mangas are like
bad.
Extremely bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not laughing at the art being so bad anymore. And all of her
I think that I usually like seeing her art, but having another chapter that's like entirely dedicated to it is too much. Because it's I would say this chapter was almost SNL level of they had one joke, it just went on too long.
Yes.
You get what I mean? Yeah. So
yes, absolutely.
Like because every other page, it's like, oh, Roboco tries to do another manga idea, and it's ripping off the name of a previous famous manga, and that's it. That's the only.
That's the main joke.
The real joke they got here.
And the worst thing is that it's not just let's make a pun on the title and then expand on it. The joke is that whatever she's expanding on the joke title is extremely lame. That's the joke.
Yes.
Like, it's not just this is a lame joke. The joke is itself that it is lame. It's self-conscious, and it's in on purpose that it's lame, and I don't like it. I don't want jokes where the joke is this is lame.
Yeah,
at least like not in this amount.
Yeah, there's a certain level of meta-ness you can get with this sort of thing, where you can be self-aware of something like that, where you're like, oh, I'm making fun of an artist who's doing something repetitively and it's lame. But then you can't also then do it yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's what this chapter is. The joke is, oh, Roboco is lamely doing the same gag over and over again. And it does so by presenting the same gag over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It also doesn't really translate well. Like drag on ball, I guess
in Japanese.
It's the same.
Oh, okay.
But when he's doing the Kamehameha, that absolutely doesn't work because for and ha aren't the same letter in any other language, but F and H are the same in Japanese, so that's why it kind of works, but it also kind of doesn't.
Yeah,
like even in Japanese, this is already a big stretch. And it doesn't get better by having to add the asterisk.
Being like, the joke is that it's bad. It's not enough. There is one thing that I do really like about this because it represents us.
Yeah.
Which is Bondo reading Roboco's terrible manga. And he's like, it's gonna be good, right? This isn't gonna be another crappy manga, right?
This is the perfect reaction image, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I feel like every time the Shonen Jump Twitter like advertises, there's a new chapter of Earthchild. I should post this. It's gonna be good, right?
It's not,
but it won't. And then after the chapter is released, we'll post this one. I knew it. I knew this manga was gonna suck.
Yes, that's us
every week.
It feels bad.
I know.
There was a good reference in here, which is maybe you probably realize what it is, but you probably didn't get the full extent of it.
No, I don't have as good a memory about other manga as you do.
So
explain to
next
me.
page, her rivals show up, right? And you probably intuitively go like, is this Bakuman?
Of course.
And the answer is, of course, yes. This is absolutely Bakuman. But the funny thing is the names of these two characters, right? So the artist is named Saite, right? And in Bakuman, the main character is named Saiko. So
similar.
It goes from best to Saiko, to the worst, Saite.
Oh, a little pun.
His friend is named Shujin, but this one is named Yujin, which is just friend.
Oh.
So
their name is bottom print.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Then there's again one of those montages that I always criticize on Roboco. And I find it almost like bad that she's referencing Takopi in this panel.
Oh yeah, RoboP's original Shin.
Because I don't know if you'd want to tell 14-year-old kids to read the manga
or expect them to have read the manga
that has the elementary school child commit suicide.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
No, it's you don't want to get more people into that. You have a 13 Reasons Why kind of situation going on.
At least in the next panel, which is the conclusion of the whole thing, Bondo has the absolutely right reaction where he says, "I hate the art."
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Also, this is another pun that's getting lost on us, because in Japanese, when she's doing her manly man whatever dinner, it's always os, like the
right, like in martial arts, you go os.
Yeah, but also os tatakai oendan, the rhythm game.
Yeah, the cheerleader guys.
Yeah, so kiss is a pun on os. Because you just switch one syllable.
Oh, it doesn't sound that close.
It looks close.
Yeah.
Believe me. So
and when you write it out in Japanese, it looks similar, even though it doesn't sound similar.
No, it absolutely doesn't. But just take my word for it that it is a pun.
Yeah.
Oh, the art is so bad.
I know. I was gonna say, usually I always say I appreciate the return of the "oh yeah, manly man dinner," but this one was just not a good serving of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Did you like it better or?
I said, I thought it was better than Sakamoto because I liked this reaction panel is worth it. So I said 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, that's going a little bit more than what I had in mind. I gave it one more point than Sakamoto, so from 65 to 66.
All right.
I'm not going into 70 territory.
Yeah.
But speaking of 70 territory, Elusive Samurai is up next.
Elusive Samurai. And is this guy a new character?
Yes.
Yeah, he's new.
I'm very certain that this character is new. Mm-hmm. And I'm very certain that this guy is going to be important because he looks like
a video game character.
he looks like an actual person and not just an NPC stick figure in the background.
Right. Well, it's like he's got kind of unique hair. He's got unique eyes, and
he's got a normal face shape. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't have anything that's so exaggerated as to be like lazy design just by exaggerating one thing, like big teeth guard man or big eyes enemy leader. So yeah. He's an actual design.
So in this chapter, we're moving on to them strategizing about what they're going to do against the upcoming battles. And for some reason, well, not for some reason, I know exactly what the reason is, but they have to tell everybody that
Tokiyuki they can't tell isn't his real identity still.
Which I don't like. I think it would be okay to tell them right now what's up.
What was the explanation for that? Was it that they wanted them to, or they wanted him to learn how to lead without only relying on his name? Was that it?
Yeah, and they also want the big like surprise moment where everybody realizes, he's like, they want him to win their trust through merit.
Mm-hmm. And then they'll like him even more when they know his name.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I get that. I get that, though.
I'm a little anxious about them not even following his orders because they don't think they don't trust him enough.
Like, who's this kid?
There must be this threshold of trust and respect for somebody, and I don't feel like they have that right now to follow all of his orders.
Because if you think about it, his actions for their faction, as of now, has mostly just been as a messenger, and he's not actually done a lot of leading.
And he's a literal child.
Yeah, he's a kid. How old is he now? He's like 12. They said that it's been 2 years. Wasn't he like 10 at the beginning?
13.
Yeah. Either way, he's like
maximum.
He's not a grown man yet, and it just seems like all the guys are gonna like assume like, there's something else going on, that this kid has become our commander, but I don't really care about it because it might have actually worked better for them if they had put him into leadership roles, like smaller leadership roles before with the normal troops. Because
this one is just like coming out of nowhere.
Every time he's shown his leadership before, it's only been within his like bodyguard group, right?
Yeah. And one time also, but that wasn't with these guys when they were.
So none of these guys have seen him leading before.
Last time when they were fighting, I forgot the one where one of his bodyguard boys was doing a really good job and taking down one of the commanders. That was a victory that they had, but that wasn't with this crew.
Oh yeah, that was with weren't they helping out the one girl's dad? Was it that battle?
Yes, I think so.
Obviously, this is historical, but my memory isn't good enough to actually learn history from it. But yeah, they all learned that their new leader, their new general, is some kid named Chojumaru, and they give this this reaction face of disbelief.
Everybody going wonkas.
Yeah, they don't like it.
Understandably. Yeah, they're preparing to fight Shokan one more time.
Yes.
And Shokan is the next big.
Yeah, I like the Shokan parts in this chapter because I think the first half is all just Tokiyuki being like, okay, well, I gotta be the general now. And then the last half is Shokan being like preparing to fight him again.
Can you go to the next page?
Yeah.
Where Tokiyuki is getting taught a new technique.
Yes.
And you can see that this technique is apparently gripping the sword upside
reverse
down.
Grip.
And I don't know if you've watched a video where people talk about how this is a really stupid technique and you shouldn't do that.
I'm very familiar with the reverse grip discourse and how it's become this weird meme in not just anime but in a lot of like live action movies too. They'll have characters reverse gripping swords. And it originates actually from knife fighting. And the reason is because they call it an ice pick grip if you're using a knife for it, and it's because that's very good for stabbing. But if you have a sword, most swords are they're too long for you to stab like that.
Yeah.
So it actually just makes it a less efficient weapon to hold it like that. So it's sort of
this kind of grip is
sort of weird
just
for him to learn that.
Stabbing somebody in the head, like in those medieval paintings.
You know what this grip is for? This grip is for when you are above an enemy in Dark Souls and you do a dropping attack.
Yes.
That's the use of this grip. But if you're like standing together, then it's especially if you are Tokiyuki fighting Shokan, you're shorter than him. So when you do this grip as Tokiyuki, because like the criticism from like all the people doing reviews of sword fights and stuff is that when you do this, like just due to the way your wrist bends, then you have shorter range. You're decreasing the range of your sword by doing this.
Yeah.
So
and you want more range.
Yeah. If you're shorter, you already have shorter range. So he's like making his disadvantage even worse if he's gonna hold it like that, unless he's planning to do a drop attack. So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and think that he's getting taught to do a Dark Souls drop attack on him.
I don't think so, but since we are so knowledgeable about sword fighting that we can tell that this is something elaborate, we are allowed to have good we're allowed to look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some reasoning they give for how this is beneficial to him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he also
he had a very good moment where he reflects on all of the characters he's met so far.
It's like, I'm going to try to think back and remember everyone I met and what I can learn from them.
And everybody's a weirdo.
Yeah. Oh, you can learn from weirdos.
I would say I kind of wish there had been more weirdos. This is a good moment.
Yeah.
I wish it had been even more bizarre.
Mm-hmm. What other weirdo moments? Oh, you know what? Maybe it would have ruined the what do you call it? Maybe it would have ruined the flow of it to be a comedic one. But the most weirdo is what's his name? Ashikaga, the main bad guy. When he
Takauchi.
Yeah, when Tokiyuki sees him as a literal monster.
Nah, that wouldn't have worked.
But it's I guess it's too different of a feel.
No, it's supposed to be
funny. But he didn't remember the guy with the big teeth that his
yeah. His uncle should have been here.
It also doesn't have what's his name? The dude who bobs his head all the time.
Yeah, that would have also been good.
Yeah, who has the
I don't remember who's the right guy in this page, the one who looks like a Turkish chef.
I don't know. Is that no? Because this guy, I don't know. I don't remember that guy at all. Oh, now I'm wondering if this is like how in some of the explainers, then it'll have some cutaway to a modern person, like when it was.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah. Maybe it's one of those. It's a clip from that. And it's literally not someone he met, but it's just someone from an example that the author put in. But yeah, I don't recognize that guy at all.
Surprisingly, the answer to that Tokiyuki was looking for is again something that I probably wouldn't have considered at all.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like last time when we were like, oh, the most important info he got out of Kyoto was the one guy who was dissatisfied
right.
and was like meeting this one drunk guy on the streets.
It was more important than all the assassination attempts and such.
So Scumchild was the solution all along.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yorishige's
grandchild.
Yoritsugu.
Yes.
I was gonna say, like, for some reason, I'm connecting him in my mind with the scum child from Jojo Leon, and they both have Tsugu in their name, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, no, not quite, but let's pretend that's the case.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Anyway, the last part of this chapter is Shokan preparing for battle.
And the last part was really good.
Yeah, I liked it because he's like being good guy Shokan now, and he's telling his army, like, because his soldiers are still kind of in bandit mode, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna pillage, it'll be so great, and he's like, no more pillaging, we are proper soldiers now, we're not just bandits. And they're even like hanging out in a village and kind of befriending the villagers. And one kid who likes him is like, oh, I don't want you to die. And then he remembers like all the kids he's killed. And he
was really into child murder.
I know, he loved it. And then he encountered the one child he couldn't kill, and he's like, okay, I'm done. No more.
Although, well, the thing is, his the way it's depicted here is that Tokiyuki doing the Buddha move
changed his life.
Yeah. And he says, Buddha purified my heart, and my Lord saved my life. So in order to repay my Lord, I must kill Buddha. Which I'm taking is kind of like he's saying, in order to be useful to Big Eye Dude, he has to reject the purification that he's already received. Right? He has to go back to his old self.
Oh. To go back to my child killing ways by killing this child. I gotta get him before he grows up.
Isn't there also a teaching from Buddha where he says, if you meet Buddha, kill him?
I don't know. I've never heard that one before.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what it's referring to. I always assumed it was like, so Buddha is free of Like he's in the perfect middle.
Yeah.
He's enlightened centrism. And
Literally
if he does
enlightened.
if he does anything else in the world, like he wouldn't because he's now Buddha, but if he did anything else, that means he could like slip and go into one of the other balances. So the best thing to do for him is killing him, because then he dies and then he goes into nirvana, or rather he stops existing, which is the ultimate goal. And that's the best thing you could do for him, because then he doesn't have any chance to slip anymore.
Really? Okay, I googled it and I found there's
fast.
An article from a website called Lion's Roar: Buddhist Wisdom for Our Time, which is a weird title because lions did not exist in ancient India and China. Where Buddhist teachings spread. I don't think so. They got tigers in those places. Lions are only in Africa.
Close enough.
Anyway.
Wait, no, lions used to be in Europe.
Yeah, but that was like before people invented writing.
I'm pretty sure that was even until the Romans.
Okay. Because I thought like all of the depictions of lions in places that are not Africa in like medieval times, I thought it was all just from hearsay and fossils and not from like live lions running around. Anyway,
I think they probably still had lions.
According to this website, then the line, "If you meet Buddha on the road, kill him," comes from a 9th century Chinese Buddhist monk, and that the interpretation of this is that if you meet Buddha on the road, then it is a physical incarnation of your conceptualizations of what Buddha is, because there is no more Buddha in the world. So if you kill that Buddha, it means you're killing the belief that you have further understanding, because it doesn't mean like, oh, you're actually killing the literal Buddha. It's that if you meet Buddha, since you can't meet Buddha anymore, it's only your mind's ideal of Buddha. So if you kill your internal idea of Buddha, then you can reach enlightenment, because you're not thinking so hard about it. So that's what that line gets interpreted as.
I see. Either way,
that would be like telling the guy from Goodbye Eri to erase his movie.
Shokan would know this, right? If this is 9th century,
yeah, this is like hundreds Chinese, of years after that. Yeah, so he would know that.
He would know it. So it might be a reference.
Probably is a reference. So yeah, everyone, you're learning some history here.
In a way, I don't like that Shokan is the one who goes through this development, even though development usually is good, because I kind of liked him as this absolutely ruthless psycho killer who just loves killing children.
But what he's saying here again is, I'm gonna kill that guy who was Buddha to me. I'm going back to that, so you should be happy about it, right?
I'm going back in, yeah. I hope he's
back in.
I hope this is yeah, I guess
his arc is going from
if he's fighting Tokiyuki and he's like, I need to kill you in order to get back to the good old days.
Yeah.
That would be really good. In that case, I would say Shokan is like top tier.
That's a cool kind of arc for a villain, and a cool motivation, being like, oh, you being alive represents like the change that I felt, that I dislike, because it made me so much more thoughtful and regretful. So I'm gonna try to kill you now.
Yes,
I think that's it's an interesting villainous motivation, where it's like you can get these moments of the bad guy being like a bit more kind and thoughtful, but then also like he's basically saying that in his heart he still wants to be evil. It's like, I miss being evil. It was so fun. So how did you rate this chapter?
75. This was the best chapter in the whole issue this time, even above One Piece.
Really?
Because Shokan is just such a good villain, I think.
I think there's one chapter I rated above this that you probably have different ideas than me.
I hope it's not the next one.
No. Yeah, I said 7 out of 10, so it's the same as what I said for One Piece. It's pretty good, but not. Yeah, because I think the first half of it was kind of slow for me, but I did like the Shokan.
Yeah, it could have been it could have been a little bit better, and then it would have been like the perfect chapter.
Yeah. Anyway, next up we have what could be the opposite of perfect chapter.
Yeah, this is
Earthchild time again.
0 points.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, right? It's not gonna be another crappy manga, right?
I knew it. Damn it.
Yeah, so yeah, they get to space already. Just one chapter after they're like, we're gonna go to space with this method.
Like no problems about how to do it.
They don't even have a full training montage. They're just like, yeah, we can do it. And then it cuts
we're here
to this astronaut.
Oh god, this character is one of the worst characters possible.
I know she's
the worst.
This character is like literally a bad person. Like there's lots of characters you'll see and you're like, oh, this character, I don't really like them. But this character, they basically say like she is not an admirable person.
Yeah.
Half
of the chapter is dedicated to her.
It's to her backstory. Half of it is her backstory, and it's stupid.
It's so bad.
Another one note I said is Albert needs to really shut up with calling himself the main character, especially now after he said, "Oh yeah, well Mamoru is the new Earthchild who's like growing in power, and I'm waning in power." And Reisuke, you're actually now the most important person. So it's like, but then he still calls himself the main character. You just passed on your main character to 2 other people, and you're like, nah, but it's still me.
He just can't help himself.
I know. And then they get to the space station, and Senku's dad isn't there. It's all these other characters, and especially this stupid girl, who so. She's shown writing a diary entry that gets like shown to people on Earth.
Yeah, she's blogging.
Yeah, so she's blogging. So first she writes something like kind of inspirational, and then she switches to her ultra secret diary to write about how salty she still is, that Earth children are more important than she is, even though she did all this training, and they just kind of magically got powers. And I'm like, this is like a random diary entry in the story, and she's just expositing her backstory and character traits in her own diary. Like this is such stupid writing, and it doesn't even make her seem like it. Yeah, it's irrelevant, and also it's just like, hey, we introduced this character who is just telling us about how she's a bad person and doesn't actually care about the stuff she's doing.
She's basically a virtue signaler on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And then somebody who's actually doing good in the world shows up and she's like, no, how dare you do something good for other people. Yeah. I am here.
Not gonna name any names, but I know the type.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Yeah. And then they show up.
Knock, knock. We're here.
Knock, knock, we're here.
Oh, I forgot to tell you while we're here on the ISS where nothing else is going on, that we're getting visitors from Earth.
Yeah. Did the captain know?
He did,
because the captain didn't tell anybody else with Albert, right?
Yes.
They do like a little fist bump thing, and it's like wow, they know each other, but it's like it also makes him look stupid because it's like, oh, you knew that Albert was coming, but you didn't like brief the crew about it, so they're completely confused. Three
more passengers, surprise passengers on the ISS.
Yeah, remember Do you remember the part in Dr. Stone where they're like, oh, we have one more person. This could be really bad because we'll run out of air. Well, this author didn't think about that at all. They're just there. And who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah. Oh, and another thing is that this astronaut lady, she writes in her diary, and she even tells the main characters that she's jealous of the Earth children because they get so much. How did she describe it? She's like, oh, they get so many powers, they have to make a difference. Even though
they don't have to train for it.
She knows that that waste hides all of their activities.
Yeah.
So they don't actually get any praise from people outside of waste because nobody knows what they're doing. And also that most of them die on the job. And she knows this. And she's still like jealous of them. It's like, that's so dumb.
She's one of those samurai from One Piece.
I know, who's like, let me die, I want to die. Death is so great. Yeah, astronauts should not be characterized the same way as death-happy samurai from medieval times.
Do you know this meme photo of somebody's bumper sticker that says "Hunk if you love dying and being dead"? Like she would be.
Yeah, but yes, that's her. And then the stupidest thing is that there's a panel that you didn't highlight where Mamoru likes her and is like.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. And I wanted to highlight how Dad is doing a Tokiyuki's sexy nausea phase.
Yeah, but it's not because he's actually excited. It's just that he's not feeling well. But he's they
to make
even
the point
out like the kid likes her, and it's like the author saying, "Oh, this character, even though she just spelled out how she's so full of jealousy for Earth children, and that she only does her astronaut job because she wanted people to praise her." Then it's like the author saying, I just told you all these bad traits of hers, but I really want you to like her. So I'm going to show the kid liking her.
Oh, no. It's like, is that what it is?
I think so. Because there's, it's like, I'm trying to think of an example, but in some shows and movies, they'll have a pet take a liking to a character. And that's shorthand from the author saying, oh, I want you to like this character because pets are innocent. Children are innocent. If they like somebody, then they must be good. Which, did you watch the YMS video on Lion King?
Not yet.
Because I'm just all of a sudden realizing something. Because in Lion King, if you remember the original, one of the criticisms that YMS makes is that in the remake, they don't really because the animation is so bad and they removed all of the facial animation. And they also downgraded a lot of the body language animation. He said that one of the problems is that then in every because real cats never show emotion with their body language. But anyway, he talked about how one of the problems
telepathically.
Yeah. No, real cats talk on YouTube. But what YMS said is that it removed one of the big parts of the original that made Scar a compelling villain, which was that Mufasa and Simba like clearly like him in the beginning, and
that's
like
true.
Mufasa is like a little exasperated whenever he's like being passive aggressive, but like they actively like seek him out to like talk to him and hang out with him, and obviously like they consider him just a member of the family. They're just like, oh yeah, my uncle, he's a bit dramatic, but he's a member of the family, and they don't realize at all that he's like plotting to kill them until he does it. Yeah, because he's sneaky like that. And I was just thinking that because I'm like, in so many things there'll be a kid or a small animal who takes a liking to somebody, and that's supposed to show like, oh, because they're innocent, if they like somebody, that person must actually be good. But then in Lion King, they have this small animal child taking a liking to someone, and then later it's like that guy's the main villain.
Yeah, I guess
just,
in Lion King it does
difference.
count because everybody's an animal.
Yeah. But even then, the point holds that somebody taking a liking to you because they're innocent doesn't always mean that you're good.
Yeah.
It could just mean that they are too innocent to realize that you're evil.
Yeah, and I suppose we could also say that Mamoru is a stupid little shit.
Yeah. Well, we've already established that Mamoru is really dumb because of the way that he played with his dad, and the FBI guys had to save him like over and over again. And so he's got superpowers, but he's not really hitting all of his all of the development milestones for how do you say, cognitive development of a child. Yeah, so once again, 0 out of 10. Just cancel this already.
Yeah, let's just hope that the author, because the author is trying to make the same point as One Piece. When Dad is talking to the stupid astronaut bitch, saying, "Well, you can't just die because what if your parents would be sad?"
Yeah.
I guess that's as good of a point.
My parents are dead.
But I think that's as good of a point to make when somebody's like, "No, dying is awesome." So I think he actually is trying to say this astronaut woman is wrong. At the very least, she's wrong.
She's wrong about admiring people for dying, and that is much like what happens in One Piece with the samurai. But I think that you can't just go on a theme alone. You also have to be well written and have a story that makes sense. And this is like, it doesn't make sense. The plot is stupid, and they're like, "But we threw a theme in there, so it's
wrong themes
now, right?" Yeah.
Almost all of the times, the theme is wrong.
The theme is like going opposite of a lot of the story stuff, because he says that like you shouldn't welcome death, but also like this mission to rescue the mom, like didn't they go into it, and didn't Albert tell him like, since you don't have superpowers unlike me and Mamoru, you could die on this? And he's like, I'm going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't quite fit. So let's just move on.
Yeah, 0 points. We don't have to talk about it anymore.
I hope
visually it was interesting, let's say that, but otherwise it wasn't that good. It was Lucky playing for his sister Miming, and the interpretation of that Treasure Island song that I don't know, that's supposed to give her hope while still being as melancholic to everybody else. And the way he's doing that is he's creating a vision of anybody who's listening to this being on the sea and seeing the fairy, right? The fairy that she's always wanting to create. The one that looks like the ribbon girl.
Yeah.
And the fairy is leading her to the island, which is just a pile of different keyboards and melodicas and stuff.
The true treasure.
Yes, and like this looks very reminiscent.
Reminiscent.
Yes, of Land of the Lustrous.
Yes, you're right. It does. Yeah, it's
if
interesting.
You read the manga,
very
which
stylized look for the clothes. Yeah, I like the manga a lot. I stopped reading not too much further than where the anime got, because have you read all of it?
Nah.
Okay.
I have the books, but I haven't read them.
Yeah, because the main character,
yeah, she changes.
Her personality like does a 180, and I'm like, I'm not as interested in her anymore.
I also do know what she looks like later on, and it's not good.
Yeah, I just
gets worse and worse.
Because it's the sort of thing where I don't even know if they're gonna make more seasons of the anime. The anime was cool, but I don't think that it fully captured the style that the manga was going for.
Which is a shame, because this is the best 3D CG anime in existence, I think.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Extremely good.
But I don't know if they're going to do another season. And even if they don't, I'm like, it might be fine to stop there.
Yeah.
Because as it goes on, then there's just so much change with the main character. And it's like, I know lots of people complain about how much Eren changes in Attack on Titan, but all his friends are still there, and you know, like you could be enjoying following them along too. But the other characters from Land of the Lustrous were not as interesting to me as the main character. So it's like when she goes through that like huge personality shift, I'm like,
yes,
it's not as fun.
Yeah. Oh well, I'll read it eventually.
Yeah, someday.
In the meantime, reading PPPPP. The funny thing is, this vision, I don't know why, but only Miming can interact with it properly, and I don't know how is this supposed to work. The logistics are unclear, but let's just say that it works for her. The fairy leads her over the ocean to the island made of keyboards, which is representative of her joy for playing in a completely liberated and wild way. Everybody else who's listening to this is drowning.
Oh no!
Because only Miming can walk on the water. Everybody else is just...
they just fall into the water? Does it actually show that? Oh, it does show. No,
yeah.
I feel like I'm drowning. That's awful.
It's kind of funny, but yeah, that's really all there is to say about this chapter. I gave it 45 points because maybe I should have given it more, because
it had one really good panel.
Foot fetishists will love this panel.
Are they well enough drawn for them? It's pretty simplified.
Yeah, I think it has the right lines to make them go.
Okay, well, yeah. If there's any podiatrists out there in the audience, let us know if this
is that the real world?
Your fancy. No, those are people who deal with foot diseases.
Ah.
Yeah. Oh, did I ever tell you I met a podiatrist and he never heard about foot fetishism before.
No way.
I was like, that's not real. You must have heard that at some point.
Were you like, is this a bit? Are you trying
to? I was like, I'm sure that, because you would just think like going through school for that. Because he's a pretty young guy. So it's like you think that going through school in the modern day for podiatry, you might Google like some foot stuff, and then
somebody is going to make a joke about it.
Yeah, and then discover something that is not related to your profession, and you're like, what? So yeah, it was really funny that he
more so. You'd expect somebody who chooses this path in life to have a certain motivation for it.
Well, let's not ascribe motivations like that. It's like
it was a bit. He was just like pretending. He was being coy about.
He's hiding his power levels.
Yes.
Anyway, going on, we got Witch Watch.
Yeah. Witch Watch was good.
Yes, it had a flashback for Nemu, showing
her mom is really attractive.
Yeah. Have we seen the parents of any other characters before?
Other than Miharu?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Miharu's parents we've seen.
Oh, right, we know Keigo's mom.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, because she was the big reveal why he was collaborating with the evil witch.
Oh.
Because she was in a wheelchair.
Huh. Somehow I don't remember that being the reason. I don't know.
She even showed up in a flashback where he's like, "Oh, my mom used to push me on the ice."
Was she in the flashback last week?
Yeah. Well, the week before that. But either way, she was the one who was training him like really hard.
Okay. Somehow I have no memory what she looks like though. I'm like, yeah, I remember images of Keigo training, but I don't remember his mom. Anyway, I like Nemu's mom. She's cool.
Yeah, look at her hair. Look at these ink brush strokes.
Yeah. I always like when they do a different style for a character like that. Just gives them a bit of identity. And one other thing I was just thinking about for Nemu and Keigo is, remember when Keigo and Kanshi were trying to be comedians?
Yeah.
And then they get a big head because they get complimented by two random girls.
Oh, one of the girls looked like Nemu?
Yeah, one of the girls looked like Nemu. And I'm like, yeah, so when it's like you were saying that those girls are like the perfect girls to appeal to those two, it's like, yeah, then they end up pairing Nemu with Keigo so much.
That was probably not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this line from the moms where she's like, it's absolutely unnecessary for anyone to understand you. And she, I don't know if you highlighted it, but she goes on to say, like, the nobler the witch, the less is known about her. And I'm like,
that was a good line.
This is a good line. And I'm like, this is what kids on the internet these days need to be told. Because there's so many people online these days who are like, more or less doxing themselves, like giving away so much personal information. Like they need to learn this. The kids need to learn.
Study it deeply.
The nobler the witch, the less is known about her.
I like that.
Yeah.
Even though her mom is wrong in this case.
Yeah, no, in this one specific case, but I think in general, the rule holds.
Nemu, in all other cases, it would be correct because her powers should be secret. But Nemu not opening up to her friends, like friends she can really trust, because she should know how trustworthy these friends are. It's keeping her from being really happy. Right. So, like, we know
this is what it's getting some. There's always cases of advice that get taken too far, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like in this chapter that it did something that I should have thought of myself, but was too stupid to.
So clever.
Because all of the pieces were there. I just didn't connect the dots.
Because I remember last week you were like, why does he get this white power? It doesn't make sense. Yes. And then it's like, oh, actually it does make sense. It makes perfect sense for him. Because it's a flight power that's incredibly hard to control the higher you get. So he's like,
I just go lower.
Really low, yeah. And I know how to ice skate.
It wasn't really
everywhere. It's like, oh,
it was so
fit
smart.
Together so well. I really like that. Yeah.
Also, he when Nemu goes up uncontrollably into the air, and he just he takes the rules of the spell that are really simple. Like the higher up you go, the less you can control it, and then eventually it starts not working at all. He just uses, first of all, he uses that to become a really good ice skater himself. Right. And then he uses that to solve the problem of Nemu flying uncontrollably by telling her just go further up, because
so
then
high
you just
that it fizzles.
Yeah, that was really clever.
Yeah, this was a very clever chapter.
It did have a weird moment where she falls in love, and it's depicted as a weird poem.
Yeah. And then
even though it's
accidentally
cute,
shows him her necklace with the moon on it.
I think this was a little bit out of place. So
I was fine with it because it's one of those character specific things where it's like, yeah, that's her personality. That's how she would feel. I'm surprised that you didn't like it since you're the one who actually still reads PPPPPP. And that's full.
I'm not reading it because I like it. That's
but
the thing.
The end had a good end, where the cat now purrs on Keigo, and so loudly that Nico is like, "What is that?"
I'm Nico here.
Because you don't like cat purring. You never heard.
Because I don't know cats can make noises.
Cats make lots of noises, and purring is
cats. All of the cats that I've known in my life are almost mute, I would say.
Yeah, cats
so
talk, huh?
Cat making noises in TV. I'm like, they just have to use those stock sounds to make us know that it's a cat or something.
You've heard about the stock sounds for frogs, right?
Is there some specific trivia about this, or just like...
Okay, so you know how frogs in almost all media these days say ribbit?
Yeah.
So it turns out there's actually only one species of frog that makes that sound, and it lives in Southern California. That's why frogs in all media make that sound, because Hollywood recorders recorded that. They're like, this is the frog sound, and then they put it up as the stock frog sound. So then
now everybody's using that one.
Yeah, everyone uses it, even though frogs in different parts of the world all make different noises. That just became the frog sound, and
that makes sense because in German it's not ribbit at all.
Yeah. What is it in German?
Quack.
Quack.
Incidentally, the same word that ducks make.
Really? The ducks and frogs. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both do spend time on land and in the water.
They're both the same.
Yeah, they're the same kind of creature.
Have the same feet.
Yeah. So how did you rate this one?
70. This was the third... Okay. No, wait. The fourth best. Wait.
Okay, I think...
No,
this is the one I rated the highest. I said 70. Because it's... So I didn't rate it higher because it's not particularly funny. But I did like Nemu's flashback. I like how clever Keigo is with his using the magic, and I like the resolution of the kitty used to only purr on Moe, but now the kitty purrs on Keigo too.
Yeah, that was good.
Like it's a character development. It's a good chapter. Yeah, what's going on is Blue Box. Is that a good chapter or not?
No, that wasn't a good chapter. Oh, this was even worse than PPPPPP.
Oh no.
This chapter is... they're still in the preparations for the culture festival. And Taiki's class is doing the Snow White play, and Chinatsu Senpai's class is doing a maid cafe.
Okay,
and
the traditional ones.
Oh, maid cafe. I want to see her so bad. And then she's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." And he gets really salty about it.
Yeah, I would be too. And he's missing out.
And then she's like, "Oh, but you're the prince in your play," and he's like, "No." And then she gets, she's salty about it, but she's not showing it.
Unlike him, we don't get to see her thoughts about it.
Yeah, then there's a moment where she's at home with her mom in the apartment that they're renting for the month, and she's watching a TV show where two characters are talking about basically the same situation that she has with Taiki right now.
Yeah.
Then her mom comes in and comments on it as if she knew everything.
Oh no! Wait, how did the mom know everything?
Well, that's the mystery about it. She's just like she's walking in like, oh, what are you watching? So the mom doesn't know what she's watching, and she's like, oh, it's just some drama. I don't know. And then the mom's like commenting so precisely and specifically about it. It's it's kind of lame how she's doing it, and especially because you have to look at this page, read all the names of the characters, figure out who's supposed to be who, and then later on, Chinatsu Senpai goes into the bath and has a naked moment where that's supposed to be titillating, I think, where she's like, "Oh, my mom said I'm the bad person in this situation," like indirectly, but it's kind of treated as if the mom knows.
Yeah, and
then she's like, "Oh, wait, but then back in this moment where she saw them arguing." Right, the Taiku and Hina, they weren't dating back then, but it's so ambiguous, and I hate how it's kind of, I don't know,
doesn't really explain itself well, does it?
Yeah, it's just too ambiguous and making references to people making references to things that are too complicated to figure out in just that 1 second that the character is in.
Yeah, I will say it is always kind of silly when there's a piece of media that to get people to exposit things, they'll show a character reading or watching something that has the same story as what's going on in their own story.
Yeah, like, there's probably a name for that trope.
Yeah. Because I feel like it kind of it's still too much, but it kind of fits in Akane-banashi, because the whole point is that they're doing Rakugo. So it's like, sure, let's compare the stories in the Rakugo to the main plot. But then when the main plot is, oh, these kids are student athletes, and then it's like, let's do some exposition by having her watch a TV show that's never been mentioned before. It's kind of dumb. Oh, another good example is in Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-san or Nozaki-kun.
But that's different.
There's so many times when the manga that they write are like directly applicable to the main characters.
Yeah, that's different because it's specifically supposed to be based on them.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, so those are cases where I feel like it works to show in-universe media that has some story relevance to the thing itself. But
it works because in Nozaki-kun, the story that he's writing is directly based on the people he knows in his surroundings. So of course it has connections. But this time in Blue Box, it was just a random TV show that had the exact best thing to reference right now. And it's just...
Although I guess I will say it's not 100% unrealistic, because I did read this true crime story where a detective was going around interviewing suspects for a poisoning and connected the dots to which one of the suspects was the most suspicious because she visited his house and noticed that he had a book on his desk that she had read that was a mystery novel about a poisoning, and the poison that was used in the book was the same poison that was used in the real life crime. And she was like, I'm gonna keep an extra eye out on this guy, and she did more investigation and found out he's the one who did it. So it's like, oh, this is a trope that actually happens in real life, but I don't like it when I see it in fiction. So how did you rate this one?
40.
Okay, yeah. So not that's not as good as PPPPP, but not as bad as Earthchild. Going on, then, something that
Doron was really good this week.
Surprising way.
It should have been this way, like right from the beginning.
This is who we should have met instead of
Ginchio.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's only, what chapter is this?
20.
Chapter 20.
And it's already in the
already
lower
in the danger zone. When we introduce a secondary character we all actually are kind of interested in.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're back on patrol duty now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they meet this quirky samurai who's not wearing a tracksuit for once. She's
doing it because she wants it to be a date.
But she's actually got her own more unique look, and
which is good because tracksuits are stupid.
They have their place, but they are a bit overused in current Jump.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, she's very socially awkward.
But she's still in love with Dora.
Yeah.
And then he absent-mindedly does something that makes her go like.
Yeah, it starts raining, and he gives her his jacket, his tracksuit jacket. So I guess she is wearing a tracksuit. Just not normal.
Don't say it like that.
Yeah, so she uses it as an umbrella.
And then he's completely oblivious to, like, it's so obvious how she has a crush on him.
Kusanagi knows it, but she doesn't.
Kusanagi knows
Dora
it!
doesn't realize it.
Dora never watches drama. I do!
That's why he can't get it.
Kusanagi has the best moments always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. He's the mascot character, but he also has the most distinct personality of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During their date /
patrol. Not a date.
A monster shows up
working.
And she mentions that she was in a slump because she messed up, right?
Yeah.
And you see her going in hikikomori mode, having a hoarder room with nothing but garbage and her curled up on the floor. I think this is a missed opportunity to just spell out that when you're a samurai and you mess up, that means people died because you were bad at your job.
Yeah, I think that goes along with the criticism I've had in previous chapters, where it's just that they don't put enough attention on the seriousness of their job. Even
they just casually mention it sometimes, like
it's an odd halfway point, because I think there's a lot of stories that are like meant for kids, and they'll sanitize it very heavily by.
Oh, I can see the parachutes.
Yeah. Like, or here's an example: nobody ever gets killed in Paw Patrol when someone screws up. They might do some property damage, but no one's gonna die from stuff in that.
I don't know enough about Paw Patrol, but is there stuff happening that should result in people dying?
Yeah, there's an episode where a meteorite crashes to Earth and starts giving people and animals superpowers.
What?
And, one guy uses his superpowers to build a giant mecha, and the giant mecha starts rampaging through the city. And then the Paw Patrol has to go to the meteorite and gain powers of their own to stop it. And nobody dies in it because it's a kids show. It's a sanitized kids show. They don't want to talk about that because it's too serious. They just want to have the visual big robot. And I feel like Dororon, they're in a weird in-between point where they show characters dying, and they have panels where people will like directly say, like, yeah, dozens of people died during that battle. But then they just kind of pass by it, and none of the main characters, like, it never shows them talking about it. So it's like every time it happens, we're like, it feels like we're missing some conversations of it. Like this panel is like the most we get from a major character reflecting on that sort of thing.
Even though Dora's main motivation is that he wasn't strong enough to save people.
To save it. Yeah. Well, yeah, like his mom. He watched his mom get killed, like Eren did. Yeah. So as always, like this series, still the writing is inconsistent. Even though I do really like this new character. What's her name? I don't know her name.
I forgot it as well, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but she's fun. She's more recognizable. Yeah, and she does talk about how she likes dressing up, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see some different outfits from her in the future.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out on her. I hope she's
more... Mononoke that shows up is again really stupid. That's a big minus octopus for this chapter. But she kills it immediately. So
yeah, it's another continual problem with this that like
the monsters are
I'm
just
not
too
interested
lame.
in any of the bad guys. Like at all.
Imagine if this wasn't an action series. It would have been like so good if this just wasn't supernatural action bullshit. No shaky cam necessary, no stupid monster designs necessary. Just I don't know. So cops.
You're not a fan of the Marvel TV series, but I've been watching some of them, and one thing that I've noticed, I heard some critics talking about, is that I guess the producers mandated that there must be a certain number of jokes and an action scene in every single episode. And it ends up with this thing where like if you're watching week to week, you're like, oh, there's some excitement. But then if you watch things back to back, then you're like, the pacing of this is terrible, because anytime something more serious happens, then you know that you're not far away from a studio mandated joke or action scene. And then like stuff will happen that just doesn't seem to fit in the timeline, because it's like, oh, we got to squish this much stuff into an episode. And I feel like this is the same way with the monsters.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we just introduced a fun new character, but since it's in Shonen Jump, which is famous for having battles, we feel like we have to do more battles, even though obviously that is not the strong point of this artist.
Yeah.
So how did you rate this chapter?
72. This is
wow, you were very
surprisingly high rated.
Yeah. I would say 6 out of 10, because I like the new character, but otherwise I'm just not really that keen on this series.
I liked her, and I really liked the moment where Kusanagi knows, but Dora doesn't. And he gets the moment where he's like,
I know this. I always like when they show the difference between two characters' awareness of something. That's always fun. Yeah, that's pretty good. Going on, we have Ayashimon.
So, contrary to my previous
this was a weird chapter.
Expectations. Well, let's say I kind of I knew exactly what was going to happen, because I know the mythology.
Yeah. You know about Tanuki.
Contrary to my expectations, apparently all of these characters aren't 100% foxes. They are Tanuki.
There's a mix. Yeah, they're not.
It's a mix, but it's mainly Tanuki themed. There are a few foxes in the mix, apparently.
Yes, like the girl who we first saw, and we're like, she's got to be a fox, right? And then last week we were like, maybe she's
because
not
of her name.
Yeah. And she looks like a stereotypical fox character.
I think the hair coloring was the giveaway to say this is definitely Tanuki, but I was going with the name and the probability that this is going to be fox themed.
Because I remember we looked at her and I was like, oh, she's got like the squinty fox eyes, and her scarf looks like foxtails. So she's probably a fox. And then last week they were like, oh, but she works for Tanuki Hotel, so she must be Tanuki. Then this week it's like, oh, actually it's the Tanuki Kitsune Alliance.
Also,
she's
a very good point in the lore is that Tanuki and Kitsune don't abide by the Ayashimon
the money
rules.
Yeah,
because they are actual animals. They aren't made. They aren't incarnations
They're not pure
of
spirits.
spheres.
They already have physical forms that can transform.
It's really interesting, like when you put it on a board with all of the factions, and that they have this special position because they aren't purely part of this world.
Yeah.
I really like that. Then they explain how they all serve Gyobu Danuki, and that the guy who used to be in the Enma Syndicate is just his representative, because Gyobu Danuki gave his body to make the hotel. And I was
like, what does that mean? When I first read that,
I mean, I knew what I was like.
You knew instantly, didn't you? When I read that, at first, I thought that it was going by the already established Ayashimon rules. So I thought what it meant was that he, like, he gave up his body to turn into money to buy the land. But no. It's something far funnier. Which is that everybody's a tanuki, and they have transforming ball bags. So the entire hotel is actually just
his balls.
Yeah.
I think in this one they translate it as his sack, which is really funny because that's exactly the word in German.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a very, like, this is a very dirty word to say. Like.
Yeah.
And I mean, what they always do, even in the Ghibli movie, they put the hairs on it to show that these are
make it look even grosser.
Yeah, and that's exactly the feeling you're supposed to get from the word sack.
Yeah, and these are the faces of people realizing that they are in the sack.
No. This panel is that you have on right now is where they still don't notice.
They don't know yet
that it's a sack. They're just wowed by all of the luxurious interior designs and everything being high class.
Okay, but yeah,
can't relate to that.
Burn it, and then you can't relate to that.
I can't relate to that. I'm used to it.
Okay, you're just totally unimpressed when you go to a fancy place.
Yeah, well, somewhat.
Okay.
I'm not in this case. I'm not 10. In this case, I'm Koton.
Maxi's just jaded now. He's like, I've been all over the world.
I've seen, like, 3,000 years is enough to see some stuff.
Seen all the good places already. Yeah, so the plot is that they are going to get trapped in the sack. And,
because Kori Hotels decided to side with the Enma Syndicate.
Yeah.
Or
they
rather,
hired a bunch of human exorcists to seal away our heroes.
Yeah, if they don't leave peacefully. And then they show the big sack.
Yeah.
Show the big sack.
They're trapped in the big sack.
I knew the way he was sitting, the Gyobu Danuki, because when he was sitting,
just when you showed panel,
I was like, are we like, is this everything his balls because it's under the table? And yes, it is. His balls on the table. It's really funny that you can show this in Shonen Jump.
This is one of the wildest things in any manga I've read lately. Being able to show such a thing. And you got the underball perspective too. But the final part of the chapter is the rest of the gang. Maro and the rest of the gang. They're going to go save them.
Yeah.
Yeah, get excited.
Big fight coming up.
Yeah. And the one thing I was looking at this...
This is where the cutscene ends and you go into
gameplay restarts.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I think we've criticized Maro's look before, and I'm feeling like the main problem with it is the pattern on his shirt. It's like axes and bows. What's with that?
This is probably a reference to the Marabito that he's kind of he's based on.
New version of, yeah.
I'm gonna
I
say
was
it's.
gonna say.
I think
Uh-huh.
he's Kintoki.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the small. Wait, Kintoki. Yeah, I think that.
I'll go with
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Because I was just gonna say, like, he's supposed to be like a huge manga fan, right?
Mm.
And when does this take place? This is supposed to take place like 20 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something between 1997 and 2002, I think.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think back then, Dragon Ball Z was like super popular, right? And there were tons of guys going around with like the Dragon Ball Z full printed button-up shirts.
I think that was just America. I don't think those
really?
ever
Those didn't exist in
got.
Japan.
Yeah, I don't think
That's too
those
bad. 'Cause I was
existed.
like, oh, imagine if he was wearing one of those. It'd be an
That would have
advertisement
been
for
funny.
Shonen Jump in the magazine itself.
I think those are like very specifically Mexican
American
culture.
weeb. Oh, they're Mexican?
I think
Okay.
so.
I never knew the origin. I just know I've seen loads of like
Yes.
pictures from conventions, and it's like 90% guys wearing this.
I remember Wooly talking about this, but like especially with the local variations of it with Black Goku on those shirts and stuff. But you'd have to listen to that one.
The non-canon ones.
Yeah. This kind of style wouldn't have flown in Japan, especially not in the late 90s, I think.
Okay, that's too bad. I had expected it was a worldwide phenomenon, but I guess I was wrong.
Didn't even see those in Germany back then.
Anyway, how did you rate this chapter? The chapter.
72 points.
Okay, yeah, I said 7. Pretty close.
By the way, Dragon Ball ended in 1995, so I think the hype at that point would have been over already.
But okay, maybe it's because I don't know. Maybe the anime ran later in America.
Even GT, I think, was right afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't remember my Dragon Ball history as well either. As we established earlier with Elusive Samurai, I don't remember my world history either.
So finally Shugomaru is here.
Tell me about this.
I'm just going to speed through this because it has a few jokes that are funny to look at.
Tell me the good jokes.
It's snowing. They want to build an igloo. Igloo is, as you know, kamakura in Japanese. It's just this snow hut. And then they say, let's have a contest of who can make the best kamakura for Sanagi. So the nerd kid makes a suburban house that has like all of the amenities that you could wish for. Especially, it has a lock that is like very intricate. And she's like, you could just punch through the wall because it's snow.
Yeah.
Then the fancy kid makes a Disney castle.
Ooh, very fancy.
And she's like,
Disney.
Yeah. And the crybaby girl makes a Animal Crossing house.
Cute.
And inside the house, she even has a live bear made of snow.
How?
Yeah. She just says Shugomaru gave him life. I don't know how that works. I didn't know Shugomaru could do this, but whatever. Might as well. Yeah. And he can't speak, so that's why he's like, and she again says Animal Crossing.
Reading that in more of a voice like Metal Gear.
Yeah, and then Shugomaru makes a floating castle in the sky.
How does that make sense?
Magnets.
Oh, how do they work?
I don't know, just magnets. Obviously, of course, everything crashes down, and this causes a hilarious chain of events where the live snow dragons from his castle completely murder the bear.
Oh no!
Which is so brutal. And the bear then crashes into the Disney castle, and the Disney castle collapses and throws one of its towers into the house, and all of the snow huts are destroyed. But the most funny thing is that the bear just gets so utterly murdered by the
so hard. That's the problem
and
with
then
giving
finally,
inanimate objects life. What if they kill each other?
Shouldn't do that. The punchline is that in the end they all use the remaining time to make one traditional Kamakura, everybody together, and she's like, "Oh, I like this one the most," and then everybody's happy. And then in the final panel, you see some assassin putting her into the crosshairs, and that's the cliffhanger for the next chapter.
Reminding us of the main premise of this story.
Yeah. That's it. 50 points. It was okay.
Okay. Yeah, not bad, not good. It's just there. The bear gets horribly murdered.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Just for the bear murder, I should give it more points.
Higher points.
Everything else
that's one of those things that's just it's so random and wild. I'm trying to think. What is the most wild thing that happened in this
Shugomaru?
No, in this issue.
Because the most wild thing in Shugomaru was the dick-headed girl crashing through all of the
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the mushroom guy.
Yeah, that was that like the tanuki sack. That's one of those things that's like you're allowed
you
to
can
do
only
that?
do that when you think you're going to get cancelled.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're pulling out all of the stops.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well go for it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to say this week?
No. I wasn't as entertained as I want to be by Shonen Jump, and that's mainly because there's too many things in there that I really don't like.
Yeah, it was overall just kind of because the ones we did like, they're like all getting like 7.5. It's like not super entertaining. It's just it's pretty good. But then there's ones that we don't like. They're like 0, 3.
Yeah,
really bad scores. So yeah,
a good issue is when there is something above 80, and it's excellent when there is more.
Yes, if there's more than one above 80. Do that, yeah.
And back in the day, you could have gotten that.
Yeah, but not
those
today.
days are over.
Yeah, well, we could always go back and just reread the old ones all the way through to their ends. And do many-hour reviews of them. We still haven't finished recording Jikoku Raku.
Yeah.
Are we gonna finish that or before the anime comes out? We'll have to make sure it's before the anime comes out.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna do that.
Anyway, until next week. Hopefully we'll be on time next week. Schedules depending.
Can we make it on Sunday? Can we manage to do that?
I don't think so.
Well,
the problem is that like on Sunday, usually it's like by the time I've like actually finished reading things,
it's already too late.
Yeah, then I'm like I'm gonna have dinner, and then after I have dinner, I'm like I don't want to record. So yes, maybe someday. Yeah, just let me know. But until then,
have a nice week.
Yeah, this has been OreKara, and I've been Percival Fine.
I'm Maxi.
Bye.